and therefore use that platform to be able to do that so that we get our money back to us. Are there ways in which people legitimately use tax laws to be able to reduce taxes? Yes, they do. Now you have to make sure that it's within both the spirit and that you are not getting wrong. So I think that's what we should do. So yes, we are very confident that this is the way to go. We have done enough of these type of transactions. We have seen how foreign companies benefit from our resources, and we just sit staring at them. And I think it is time to reimagine the future, to put our stamp on understanding that these things are ours and we are going to get the best out of them. And there are two markets, the physical market and the virtual market, or the stock market. And we never seem to go there to do that. So I don't see anything really wrong with what we are doing.
We take this opportunity to call on His Excellency Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo to, 1, acknowledge that though the Minerals Income Investment Fund and its special purpose vehicle may be legal without public input, it fundamentally goes against his pact with the Ghanaian people, particularly the mining communities, to cede 20% of mineral royalties to develop the communities. 2, to suspend the implementation of the Mineral Income Investment Fund Act until all documents relating to the establishment of the special purpose vehicle and its beneficial owners have been disclosed. As concerned Ghanaians, we sought to access the transaction documents on the Mineral Income Investment Fund Act Secretariat, only to discover that it has none. 3, establish a multi-stakeholder process to review all options to optimize the mineral royalties in order to secure risk-free revenue to the state.
It's obvious that persons very close to the president, related to the president, were involved in structuring the PDS deal. And we've heard audio of them in telephone conversations, talking about the shareholding and all that. We've all heard it. I mean, so there's enough evidence to investigate PDS. And the people of Ghana need to know what happened, because this was a situation in which the assets of a state-owned company were being handed over to a private company. As I speak today, for the period that PDS collected money when they were running the ECG, that money that runs in billions of Ghana cedis has not been accounted for. I mean, people cannot just pocket state monies and just walk away free with it. The people of Ghana deserve to know what happened in PDS. EJAPA is unfolding the same thing. The money laundering laws do not allow us, even as individuals, to hide our money in tax havens. So if even as individuals we're not allowed to hide our money in tax havens, why will government of Ghana mortgage our gold royalties to a private company in which we have 51% shares? Some shady individuals we don't know have taken 49% shares. On what basis did they take those shares? And they've gone to register in Jersey, an offshore tax haven, so that they hide the identity of the shareholders. Government of Ghana, even though the royalties are ours, cannot control that company. Meanwhile, we have vehicles we can use here. We have the Ghana Infrastructure Investment Fund. If you assigned the royalties, our gold royalties, to the Ghana Infrastructure Investment Fund, which is a 100% controlled Ghanaian entity, it can do exactly the same thing that you want EJAPA to do. EJAPA is a very shady deal, and I'm saying if I become president, I will not respect that agreement. It is a theft of Ghanaians, royalties. And
okay, so you heard the finance minister first, Mr. Ken Ofori-Atta, and then you heard Dr. Steve Mantiao, who spoke on behalf of about 15 CSOs or so under the umbrella name Alliance of CSOs working on extractive anti-corruption and good governance. And then you had the former president, John Dramani Mahama, as well, making some input into the matter. So let's come in studio now and try and understand what this is going on. And I'll be having this conversation this morning with the man who is the governing board chair of the entity that has set this up. So he has a lot of information. So the Member of Parliament for Takwan CIM constituency, the Honorable George Mriku-Duka. Good morning.
Good morning, Mama.
Yes. So as I properly identified him, he is the MIIF governing board chair. I'm also here with Mr. Ben Boache, Executive Director of the Africa Center for Energy Policy. Ben, good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you for making time for us. I know we had to pull you from some corner.
Yes.
But it's always good to have you. We'll also be doing this with the Honorable Alassane Suhuyini, Member of Parliament for the Tamale North constituency. Franklin Cudjoe, President of Imani Africa, will join us also via Zoom as well. Lawyer Yao Pong, private legal practitioner. So once they join us, we'll get the conversation away. But once Honorable Mriku-Duka and Ben are here, we can begin. And Honorable, let me start the conversation with you. So why the need for this at this time? Why do we need EJAPA royalties?
Right. Let me say a good morning to your cherished viewers and your good self, Ben. Good to see you. Yes, you've asked the question, but this did not start today. It started as far back 2018. That's where the act was passed. We debated this extensively on the floor of the House. The Speaker of Parliament referred to the appropriate committee, extensively debated. We brought it to the plenary, extensively debated. Then the act was passed. And after, engagement started. So we've been going around talking about EJAPA royalties, MIF, since 2018. So it didn't start yesterday.
But let's be clear. Were we discussing MIF in 2018 or were we discussing EJAPA royalties in 2018?
We were discussing both.
So Parliament discussed EJAPA royalties in 2018?
Because it's the MIF that established EJAPA that we're talking of. MIF established this peristatal vehicle to trade with, and it's in the Act.
But you were sworn in 2019, was it? So, or 2018?
2019.
2019.
Yes, so, but the Act was passed before being sworn in.
So in passing the Act, EJAPA was part of the ideal of passing the Act?
Yes, it's in the
So
Act.
it's not like your MIF met and said, okay, this is how we can operate and do better. The original idea was, let's do MIF, and then out of it, EJAPA will be born.
Oh, yes. If you go through the Act, you check the Clause 3, the powers of the fund and the functions in Clause 4, it clearly indicates and tells you what we to do. And the Act says we should establish that fund. So it's not something the creative or the creation of the board chair going to sit down to say that yes, we need to create SPV. It is established in the Act. The Act emphatically, specifically mentioned the SPV, and it's established there. So it's not something that we conjectured. It's a matter of taking our time to go through. Even the Act went further to tell us the modus operandi. So I find it sometimes very unfortunate to hear people from the minority do say that, yes, they've gone to set up a peristatal vehicle just to, as it were, create something that is not there and enrich themselves. Very unfortunate. Something that was debated on the floor of the House. They were part. They supported. They didn't walk out for the bill to be passed into an act. I don't know whether they've not gone through. And you go through, this is established by the Act, not by the board. So sometimes we need to be careful. If you don't understand, yes, it's a novelty, obviously. And if you don't understand anything, you are obliged to discuss some of these things, but dispassionately. Let's sit down, ask questions. Why this? Why that? What are we going to get out of? What are the profits? what are the possibilities? Do we have in the world? Do we have examples? And what have those examples been? I mean, what have been the opportunities? These are questions that are important as Ghanaians, but not just to say that people have created. So this hasn't been just today. It's been around since 2018. Yes, the CSOs are talking of engagement, that they should have been engaged. We started, I was sworn in, as you rightly said, in 2019. We started engaging, stakeholders, like the Minerals Commission, like the mining companies, the Chamber of Mines. The next level was to engage chiefs from the mining communities, the media. We've engaged, some of them. Then the COVID came up. So we had to also take our time in going through these processes, also getting amendments passed, like the relationship amendments, that agreements, like the assignment agreement, like the operation management agreement, the revenue management agreements. These agreements were sent to Parliament, extensively debated. And if you're talking of representation, where else can you have, embodiment of Ghana? It's Parliament. And we have all the representatives, they have all these documents. These documents were available for each and every parliamentarian. So if you're talking of being, just hiding something under the carpet, sometimes I get worried. I say, wow, we can just talk because we are in political era, because we just want to, sort of lure voters and just come up with concocted sort of stories. Which kind or part of the deal are we hiding from Ghanaians? If you come up with specifications, specific questions, yes, you're hiding this, then we can answer. But if you don't have anything to say, you don't just, loudly throw everything, overboard. But my brother, the most important aspect of this is to add value to what we have been mining all these years. As a person, or as a member of Parliament coming from a mining community and contributing not less than 60% of our gold threshold to, Ghana. The questions I sometimes ask, what are the tangible projects that I can pinpoint that all these years, do I have anything to show that, yes, gold has given me this, especially at Takwa, where I'm from. I don't have anything to show from gold proceeds in terms of what we pay into the consolidated fund. I have been complaining, why has Joburg been developed out of gold? Why Cape Verde has developed? Because they have been able to build local champions. The concessions there are for the indigenes. You come to Ghana, the concessions here are for foreigners. So they get the gold, they move outward. So how do we then get to a level where we can also build local champions, have Ghanaians who will also be having companies like Goldfields, Newmont, and so on and so forth? Yes, let's have a system to track our revenue stream, not putting everything in the consolidated, adding onion money, fish money, everything put together, where we cannot in a way even track the gold revenue stream. This is a system where we can openly, transparently track our revenue stream. Then we ask questions. What are we doing with it? It's another important question. Someone was, just raising a genuine concern. He believes that inflows will be minimal. And what are we doing using the money for? I said, yes, we have infrastructure gap. We have education to fulfill. We have health mandates to fulfill. We have other, areas of endeavor to fill. So how do we, in all, agree? We're having companies, royalty companies, in other jurisdictions doing well. You can't tell me that a company going to be listed on the London Stock Exchange will not be transparently scrutinized.
We will get there, but my interest though is in, you talk about, you come from Tarkwa,
yes,
and how you can't point to anything. We've had several things put in place to deal with that. We have the Minerals Development Fund. So if you are not getting the benefits of what have you done about fixing that particular situation? Why do you then say, okay, the Mineral Development Fund is not giving me what I want, the Consolidated Fund is not giving me what I want, but I feel this is a better option? How we've had a Mineral Development Fund since when, Ben, you can help me, 1993? If you've not been able to enforce that to the benefit of your community, why should we trust you to do better with this?
Yes, so it's a question that we asking to also show sort of patriotism, because all these years we've not been even measuring or taking anything out of the MDF. MDF is still there. We're still paying the 20% threshold to them. We're not taking it out.
And it goes to the communities?
It goes to the community. When you pay the 20% to MDF, 50% out of goes to the administrator of school lands, and that is sent to the community. Beyond that, or even apart from that, we also have another 20% that is also sent to the mining communities, also for development through the district assemblies. We have about 4% that is sent to the Lands and Natural Resources Ministry. We have about 8% that is also sent to the Geological Survey, also for other research activities. We have 5% that is also mandated for research purposes. And these things are still there. And that 20% is going to be given to the MDF, and it's not taken out of. Only 75.6% is dedicated for this transaction.
You say only, that's a lot.
It's a lot, but the question still comes. What do you have to show from mining proceeds? What do you have to show? Not even a single project. Now it's a time that someone is going to work towards it, make sure he uses the money for projects, and say you've not seen it before because you've not heard it before, so it's shrouded in secrecy. Is that what we mean by not transparently declaring or coming out with disclosures? Is that what we mean by that? Or corruption because you don't understand it? If you don't understand it, you ask questions. And I've said time and time again that there's a need for us to ask dispassionately, some of these concerns.
Okay. So in your estimation, before I start going around the table, this arrangement that the Act has put in place is significantly better than the existing arrangement that we have. And I'm emphasizing on significantly, not marginally, significantly better.
It is absolutely significantly better. That's what I have seen and what I've read, and the examples that are shown all over the world. Like if you go to, you take Sandstorm, you take Osisco, you take Franco-Nevada, you take Whiting, you take Royal Gold Incorporation. These are companies that you can research around.
These are all state-owned, majority state-owned SPVs.
These are private-owned SPVs. And having...
But ours isn't. Ours is 51% state-owned.
Yes.
49% private.
Are they making profits?
But the situations are different. This is a state entity that is a private entity.
Why different?
The thought processes should be different.
What processes?
Because what a private person decides to do with his money should not be the same consideration that a state gives to what it does with its money. It's not your money. It's people's money.
That gives us the opportunity also to trade with what we have and privatize, in a way, getting what we can also trade with.
It sounds risky, sir.
Why risky? Why do you think it's risky? Because we're engaging people in that regard, or on that platform, to come, as it were, invest in our country, give us money, expand and build people within our enclave. So it's not a matter of just, getting our money, putting it somewhere, adding it to the consolidated fund, not using it for purposes that are needed. This time around, you know your company. You know it's listed on the London Stock Exchange. What am I having in the coffers? What is the total amount coming in? How do I then track it? How do I ask questions? This will be there. People are asking about prospectus. Yes, you need these regulators to scrutinize the prospectus, come up for it to be accepted. Then all these documentations will be in the hands of prospective investors.
And isn't that where the problem is in running a comparison, for instance, with private entities? Because a private entity can say that, well, I want to go through the process, and when I get to that point, I will show you my prospectus. But for a state entity, you cannot behave like a private entity and say, well, when I get to the IPO, I will show you. That is why people are saying you are hiding.
What are we hiding?
So put it out there then from the beginning. People don't have to wait.
But is that a norm? If you are going to be...
Well, it's novel. You are telling us. So there's no norm here. If you are making the rules as you go.
Go for it. If you're going to be listed, the procedure is to allow the regulators to scrutinize your prospectus, for the prospectus to be accepted before it's given out there. It's obviously going to be public document at all costs.
No, but we're saying if it goes there and people like Ben and Suhini say, okay, this your prospectus is iffy, what do you do?
Why do you also think so?
No, I'm just saying.
Yes.
We cannot simply, that's what I'm saying. You see, we have a situation where the state is behaving like a private company.
Then we must behave as such.
No, but you can't. It's not your money.
You see, it's something that the Act has created to behave as a private company. It's a company that is jointly owned. It's going to be jointly owned. It's now 100% government, as he's saying. It's going to be jointly owned. And they going to list it on the London Stock Exchange allows it to be transparently, out there. And what I'm saying is, yes, you've asked of prospectus. What's the procedure of getting the prospectus? Is to allow the regulators
to go through.
Okay. And it's a process. So yes, you've asked it to be given.
Patience is what is required in this matter. Thank you. So we've heard opening comments from the Honorable George Meku Duke, a member of Parliament for Tarkwa in Suayem constituency, try to explain the rationale behind this. Mr. Boakye, he's tried to explain to you what they are trying to do. In fact, the whole week they have been trying to explain to you. Is it getting any clearer now from their explanations? Is it beginning to make sense? For instance, they are saying, look, he comes from Tarkwa, one of the most resource-rich places in this country, but also one of the poorest. And he says, this is the way that we can uplift our communities. This is the way that we can make better use of our mineral resources. Sounds like a good idea.
It sounds like a good idea, but I think the struggle to convince some of us is still on. Honorable Duka is a good friend, and we go way back in this space where we engage on policy, right? The genesis of the problem we have on our hands is really to do with myth, which he happens to be the board chair. And I think, Honorable, if you remember, the first time I saw myth, I called you, and coincidentally, he told me he's been appointed as a board, and I had problems with myth.
From the outset?
The first day I saw it, I had problems with myth. Because there were so many things that were not clear. Now, I wondered why Parliament would cede so much authority over a national asset, to a company and do limited regulation on how that organization would operate. But it had been passed. It was a law. So then you would want to see how it is actually interpreted, and then you could come in as and when. And that is where the problem began. We are here to do policy. That's all we do. Imani does policy. The think tanks, the CSOs, all we do is policy. We can't close shop. We engage government. And Parliament has a history
of inviting, when they see fit, inviting civil society people to make comments, academia, to make comments on bills before they are passed. You check the petroleum laws. We contributed extensively into all those laws. Even at some point engaging Parliament and workshops to explain our positions to them. Civil society engaging citizens on bills that are before Parliament, to collate inputs to support Parliament in delivering that. This did not happen in particular case of MIF. And that is how come civil society did not get to know that process and how it became a law. You know, that takes control over the royalties from the gold mines. But we can again move a step further to look at the situation we have with Ejapa. Ejapa was not in the MIF that was sent to Parliament. It was an SPV. An SPV that could have been in Ghana, right, to do business. Tax haven was not in MIF, and it's still not in MIF. So it's a relevant conversation to have now. You know, that is the kind of, you know, conversation that we want to begin to unpack at this point, so that the reasoning can be interrogated, you know, by all of us. The reason why we have a problem with this structure and arrangement, and I think we have to demystify it by separating the politics, personalities, and attack the issues. Right? So you have royalty. And the whole essence of royalty, particularly for developing countries, is that we own the resources. Okay? And traditionally, because, I mean, it can be argued, we've been weak in monitoring, we've been weak in actually ensuring that when the resources are extracted, we can get some taxes from the resources. The safeguard, really, is to say that, well, you can come and produce the gold, but before you even start accounting for the gold, before you start telling me how much you spend relative to cost, before you generate your profit, give me a share of the total output. Simplicity, period. So the state takes that as royalty. So that if the accounting fails and the state is not able to generate returns from taxes, you have your royalty at the barest minimum. So that is the guaranteed revenue that you have from the gold producing companies. Okay? So it is essentially risk-free. Risk-free, let me explain, because we've been told that, you know, because of the fluctuation in international market, blah, 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 you want to, you know, smooth in that risk, and therefore you want to enter into other portfolio of investment. But the reality is this. For gold, if Ghana decides that because prices are low, we are not selling, we can keep the gold. We are not under any compulsion to sell our gold.
It's not like
oil. We
oil.
can take in cash or in kind. Even oil. You can take in cash or in kind. So it is given. If the company decides not to produce, your gold is underground. Your royalty is preserved. You understand? So it is the most secured share of our resources in the extraction of gold. So this is what we are doing. We are not saying that, oh, we want more. And therefore, we want to take that risk-free revenue and put it back into the risk to come and invest into a mine so that we can make more money. And the assumption here is that we will make money, but that cannot be accurate, because nobody has told us how those risks were assessed. The risk of investing the royalty has been assessed for us to know where the numbers are playing for us or against us. And that is really important, because in any investment there are risks. So what are the risks in giving our risk-free royalty to Ejapa, you know, to invest?
That's a question I think he can answer for you. He's here. Can you answer that question?
Maybe I should flow so that when we're done, we can.
No, probably it will also help your discourse.
Right.
I mean,
okay.
No, he wants to know whether
whether there has been any risk
assessment. What numbers did you see that leads you to this assumption
that when you invest
you make money?
You make money. Because you want to amplify, you want to maximize the returns.
Extensively consulted, and I can tell you we have the figures.
Are you willing to share them?
We know what we're doing.
Are you willing to share them?
I didn't know that you were going to request for.
No, not even for me. Maybe for the CSOs.
Yes, why not?
They want to see.
Don't let us paint a picture that we are not ready to engage. That is far-fetched.
Okay.
We're ready to engage.
So the numbers are there.
Why not?
Okay. Then you can continue.
Right.
So you can go and ask him now.
I can. We're not done on this. It's a conversation that's going. We would further analyze and bring us. So once you get the numbers, we're happy to do justice to it. So we're assuming that we're going to risk and make more money. But let's look at the numbers and how it plays for us or against us, even if the investment will generate good returns. So Ghana makes, last year we made $200 million, and that has been put at 150, sometimes 130 by government. But the data is available. Ghana made 1,600 million cedis. Convert that by the dollar rate they gave us at the time. It's 200 million, about. So this is a revenue stream, $200 million. This year, 2020, we are likely to hit 300 million, and I'll explain. You have Anglo Gold coming on stream. Gold prices are on the roof. So the existing companies are ramping up. They're producing more. Anglo Gold is also in. So your royalty revenue is going to shoot up. So if you have a probable receipt of $300 million, and you are saying that you are likely to receive this year on year, you are going to take $500 million and give half to somebody. What numbers goes against that? You are going to take $500 million today, and you will cede half of $300 million to somebody for the life of the major projects in Ghana, including even new prospects. It's going to be ceded to the stock exchange.
And that is not correct. But probably I'll
grant you.
Yes,
I'll grant
yes.
you. Because it's up for sale. For the listing is selling.
Yes. We're not using all the concessions that we have, as he's claiming.
How many are we using?
We're using 16. Out of the 16, 4 producing, and 12 producing, and 4 development assets. So it's only all the concessions that we have. We're using 12 now, 4 development. That will come on and I can give you the list of those concessions. So it's not, and MIF is also still receiving from other concessions, but that is not part of the transaction.
And I think that's why the engagement is even much more relevant. Okay. So I've heard this consistently, that we're not giving all. But I tell you that the companies that are producing, that have been assigned to this deal, constitute 95% of our royalties. So if there is Kwesi Mensah's concession somewhere that is not giving us royalties, the stock is not interested. Okay? So the big concessions that are giving us revenue, royalty, 95% of the royalty that comes to Ghana comes from those companies.
And that figure is also not correct.
Oh, you can give us more figures.
That figure is not correct.
You can give us figures because the royalty
is not correct. Go ahead. Feel free to correct.
Feel free.
We're having.
No, maybe we can cite the companies that are not part of this. The giants who are producing in Ghana, who are not part of this arrangement. We can maybe mention them.
I'll give you the list. I have the list here.
Please go on. Let's hear them.
I can give you the list. Companies that are involved in this transaction, and then you can deduce for yourself.
No, I've seen the agreement. I've seen the companies that are there. The only companies I can tell you that are not here are the bauxite company and the Consolidated Diamonds. Those 2 companies, and their royalty is about 30 million cedis.
And Ghana Manganese is also not part of.
Yes, those three. Those are the smallest ones.
So at least.
But
that still suffices if you're looking at the overall amount involved.
The old companies. And if you look at the bulk, the Ghana Manganese.
He indicated 95%
of the revenue. Of the royalty.
And I'm saying that is not correct. It is not 95%.
So where would you hazard it at?
87%.
That's still a lot.
Yes, I'm not.
No,
but
okay.
I was just
no problem.
commenting.
No, we can
on the
look at the numbers. I mean, 87, 95. I can grant you that. But I can tell you that for the gold companies, those under Ghana Chamber of Mines, they are the ones giving us the bulk. The 1 billion that I mentioned is just those under the Chamber of Mines, because they give us the bulk of the money, right? So they are the ones that have been assigned to this transaction. So the numbers are just looking at the areas where the royalties are actually coming from. So what we are doing essentially is to sell half of that 1 billion and into the future 300 million, because I'm even looking at just the companies that have been assigned to this deal, which are giving us the bulk of the money. And we're giving that to the stock in exchange for 500 million. Yeah. And I think that is not fair to Ghana.
For you.
Yes.
But have you also taken into consideration the local companies that we are building, the employment opportunities, the income,
the foreign
other
companies
taxes?
also employ. That's the point. You see, we should be fair to the companies who are producing.
Because whatever you're going to get, you're obliged to invest. So in investment, why don't you build large concessions in Ghana? Why don't you also get people employed, give people opportunities, even invest in the small scale mining sector, support the teeming youth who are unemployed? So you're going to have the money to invest. So you are talking an aspect of it where you think you're going to lose. But largely, I believe when this money is invested, we're going to have that platform where lots of people are going to have the opportunity to work.
So basically,
I think even the more you explain and you start mentioning even the small scale sector and any other company, I get more alarmed, because you are even expanding the risk for me. Okay, this is royalty. And by virtue of our ownership of the resources, we get royalty. Whether a small scale miner is operating, a large scale miner is operating, we will get our royalty.
And you believe
you are now saying that we should
in a small scale?
But you haven't made the argument that without you, there will not be investment in the mines. You haven't made the argument.
What have we been using the money for?
That is a question I should pose to you. 3 billion last year. What did you do with it? That's the question I should pose to you. You pose it to me.
And
we have been receiving this revenue
long ago as a
exactly. We've been asking this.
You've been asking the
but this is a question. That's what I'm saying. That's why I asked you this question.
So
you are MP for Takwa. If your constituents ask you this question right now,
you can't throw it to me.
You will have an issue answering this question.
My solution is what we are doing now. The solution to that question is what we are doing now. Because if you had all this money and you cannot even track as a civil society organization,
so you're telling me, hold on,
yes,
we can't track what we do with the MDF.
They are
is
there.
that trackable?
No, they are there. That is MDF. By MDF is still around.
Last year, what did MDF do in your constituency?
We're not going to collapse the MDF.
I know.
Yes.
I know that.
Yes.
In fact, that one is very clear.
Yes.
MDF, the way you've explained it, if I understand, is going to be a beneficiary of MIF.
Yes.
Because they're going to get increased. Yes. But I'm simply asking this.
It was into the consolidated.
Yes, I'm asking. Last year, your constituency.
Yeah.
What did they get from the MDF?
Yes. So it's been a matter of concern because the MDF goes through the assembly. The assembly, what we realized, even most of the assemblies, you go there with the MDF. They start a project. We add, because it's part of the consolidated, they also add other inflows and put everything together to do a project. So specifically, you cannot even pinpoint that, yes, we did this out of MDF as a project. It's something we need to all engage and see how best. Yes, MDF, this funding project. They built schools in my constituency. We have schools that is supported by MDF. We have other projects that are supported by MDF. But how do we, reference that and say, yes, MDF, these are MDF specific projects? There is a reservoir that is being built in one of the communities that is, wholly sponsored by MDF. So these are there. But we're talking of a national kind of projects.
So how would the allocations be done? Do you have a plan that says, okay, when we get 500 million, TACWAP gets 50 million, or Bossy gets 50 million? So they're starting to mine in your area as well. They will also get 50 million. Is that going to be a uniform
the Upper East
share of this? Is that what's going to happen?
I think we have to carefully separate these things so that we are not confusing.
Exactly.
The issue.
discussion
I know.
The discussion is.
I know. Look, you go on.
The point about we've not been able to account for the money in the past, it can be remedied by government. It can be remedied by parliament. I mean, you are the people with power. You can change that and say tomorrow,
And I believe there's
all
one
our
of the
money
best
is going to.
Okay.
Yes, I get it. So I'll grant you that, and we'll get to that analysis
Yeah,
also.
all right.
So
Ben, I'll give you 3 minutes more
yeah.
for
So
this round.
if we are not able to account for the money, then start accounting for it. And I think that is a fundamental point. But if you move it away into a private environment where we're not even going to control Ajapa, and I'm not able to get accountability from my government now, is Ajapa the one going to account for my money? Is that the guarantee?
Yes, because
That is even a bigger risk for accountability.
No. Because Ajapa is listed on the London Stock Exchange.
So we should try the London Stock Exchange more than our government.
No, Ajapa is transparent. Ajapa sort of ring-fenced. Now the money is not into the consolidated. Now the inflows, you are managing it because it's in your hand. You have the biggest share. You influence decisions, and you can take the larger decisions, and that will impact in your economy.
Yeah, so it means that we are not changing the trend. We are only shifting the situation.
But
because
the trend
you
is
have a situation
now
where it's not as if we don't know what the mineral resources are used for. They are just put in the consolidated fund. They used to pay salaries and to do development. And that's what government does with it.
Yeah.
Now you're also giving it to Ajapa to do what it pleases to do with it.
No.
You understand? Because it's what Ajapa
if you
decides
just put it that
to invest
way,
in.
It's unfortunate to put it that way.
No, but
That
the
we just
decision will be
do-
decision to invest will be of that of Ajapa, not Ghana government.
Yes, but that one, Ghana government has 51%. Don't know why you leave that one.
51%.
I'm saying
It's not an
that one gives you that
not a license.
It's not a
do what you
Mugabe kind of authority.
So those
to decide what to do.
as for those aspirations and so
It's
on,
not.
we cannot create it for other political gains or other gains.
Not necessarily.
But as if we let the most important thing is the vehicle itself.
Yeah.
The better aspect of the vehicle also must be discussed.
No,
That is important.
we'll discuss
But
this.
benchmarking to the previous administration and say, because this.
No, I don't think I've mentioned that here.
No, I mean that's what's informing sometimes our discussion. That how do we see the benefit? It's important you ask, but we are assuring Ghanaians that these things are going to impact in our lives immensely. I mean, in terms of infrastructure, projections, in terms of health, in terms of education, and these things were enshrined in the minister's press conference.
Okay, I have another question, and then
Yes.
I'll come back to Suhini. We'll hear from Franklin as well. And there are a couple of questions I also allow Ben to ask. He has a long list of questions as well. In this consultation that you spoke about, what did the lawyers say? What did the Attorney General say?
Yes, you see, one thing that we're also forgetting is that Attorney General is there to advise. And the department has been advising all this while. The advice can come in a form of negative sense, just to correct you. Some will be positive, just to add on. And it's in all sectors.
Certainly.
It's in all sectors. So when the Attorney General gives an advice, it gives you the opportunity to explain yourself
To the Attorney General.
to the Attorney General, because obviously the Attorney General will be the advisor to the transaction. So Attorney General raised some concerns from the beginning because it's a novelty, obviously. So he asked questions, and those questions
Were answered
were answered
satisfactorily.
satisfactorily. And subsequently, I have a letter as a board chair. I know why you asked that question, because you chanced on something, a letter that was leaked to the media, and then that Attorney General mentioned. But unfortunately, it was pick and choose. Respectfully, let me read this letter.
The title of the letter you're reading, please.
Is revised versions of Project Kingdom Investment Arrangement Draft Agreement incorporating the Honorable AG's recommendation.
Date?
It was addressed to Mr. Ken Ofori-Atta, the Honorable Minister, Ministry of Finance, Ministries, and dated 12 August 2020.
Okay.
And I read. We refer to our various advice dated 1st April 2019, 28th May 2020, 22nd July 2020, and 5th August 2020. And the transaction advices comments dated 12th June 2020 and 22nd July 2020, respectively, on the Kingdom Investment Arrangement for the proposed monetization of Ghana's mineral royalties. We also refer to the meeting held on 10th August 2020 and your subsequent letter numbered MOFH/HM/MIF/2020/08/11/2 dated 11th August 2020 together with the draft document. The letter indicates that our earlier comments on the draft agreement have been duly incorporated and requests our final review and no objection. This is the latest letter from the Attorney General and dated 12 August. And the person couldn't have that patriotic spirit to leak this one, but unpatriotically leaked the. You see, and that.
Can I see the letter? Just pass it to me, if it's possible.
It's for my consumption.
Oh, okay.
It's for my consumption as
And
a chair.
that's what the problem,
to receive
that's
the
what the
full
problem
form.
starts.
No, it's my consumption as a chair.
I'll grant you
and,
that.
probably after this section.
I can read it,
yes.
no problem.
But you see, the most important thing.
So the concerns have been addressed.
Yes. And if you heard me right, it stated, enlisted all the dates, the letters, the interactions we
Yeah.
had.
So 22nd July, 5th August, right up to this one.
These are things, that were ongoing. And if you come up to say that because she raised a flag, so the transaction is not transparently, done, I have some challenge. But
Okay.
these are aspects of,
All right. So thank you for that. We will get back to that particular matter. We are on the big issue discussing Japan royalties. I'm doing this with Ben Boakye, the Honorable George Miku Duka, Member of Parliament for Takwanso M constituency. Franklin Kujo is online via Zoom, and Alasan Suhini is Member of Parliament for the Tamale North constituency. What I will do is I'll take a message and then I will take a quick break, and then when I come in, we'll hear from Suhini, we'll hear from Franklin and Loyopo, and then we'll continue. Honorable Duka is doing a good job of opening up a few things, as is Mr. Boakye. So I hope for you, the listeners at home, you're also getting educated on what this whole Ejapa venture is about. Okay, so let's see. Good morning, Godfred, and your guest. I'm an entrepreneur. I believe in equity investment, but this deal as a national program can be done better. Again, the timing is very wrong. Plus, if Ghana needs to create Ghanaian multinationals, government must empower and make policy to help entrepreneurs, not in this Ejapa way. And then another one says, there's this question lingering on my mind, which must be answered by those shouting on rooftops regarding Ejapa. Why is government listing a foreign deal on the London Stock Exchange where due diligence will be done? I'm really astounded at the deliberate bastardization of government by our political opponents just to court public sympathy. Well, Kwesi, is also because there are a lot of companies on the LSE and other public stock exchanges that have been found guilty of several things. Being listed does not mean you are not capable of doing wrong things or something. So it is no guarantee. All right. So we'll take a quick break. When we return, Alasan Suhini, Honorable Member of Parliament for Tamale North, and Franklin Kujo and Lawyer Yaopong will also have their take as we try and break down Ejapa.
Imagine Imagine if you can get all the understanding on some of the difficult subjects you struggle with in school. As a student, do you feel dissatisfied with how hard it is to figure out the subject you're learning? Or as a parent or guardian, do you worry that your child is struggling to understand some of the subjects in school? Well, now you don't need to sign up for extra lessons or tutors. Simply tune in to Class Act, Mondays to Thursdays at 5:30 p.m. on City TV. Class Act is a show that seeks to enable senior high school students gain a much better understanding of what they learn in school. All you need is a TV, a chair, your notebook, and your pen. Get clarity on subjects such as maths, English, IT, and science. Class Act airs every Monday to Thursday at 5:30 p.m. on City TV on DSTV channel 363 and GoTV channel 182. Don't forget your pens, pencils, and your notebooks and tune in to Class Act, only on City TV.
Representing a country is no small feat.
Because in Ghana, the love for Israel is so real, People are nursing it from home, from churches, and then you are walking in such a positive atmosphere and all the doors are open for you.
View the lives of the diplomats in Ghana through their very own eyes and see how they make Ghana their home.
I always loved it. I love the remains of African culture in Brazil. I am very interested in the way Africans were able to, amidst those horrible conditions, they were capable of transforming their African heritage.
Join me, Apioko Sarah Mashong Abe, on Diplomatic License every Saturday at 5 p.m. only on City TV.
Telling Ghana's business stories, City TV brings you a dedicated business news bulletin that showcases the business temperature of the country in one go. The business dashboard, the markets, industry, and policies that affect the way we do business. All covered in one bulletin. The business dashboard, 7 p.m. every weeknight on City TV. City TV is live on DSTV. Go to channel 363. On GoTV, access City TV on channel 182. On a digital TV, please press the menu button on the remote control and run a news search on your TV. Take note that without an antenna, you cannot access City TV on your television. City TV can be accessed on a free-to-air digital box like the GoTV and Star Times box. City TV, it's your world.
Welcome back to the big issue as we try and make sense of the Ejapa royalties deal. And I'm doing that with the governing board chair of the Minerals Income Investment Fund, the Honorable George Mekuduka, Member of Parliament for Takwan constituency. I'm here also with the Mboache, Executive Director of ASEP, the Honorable Alasan Suini, Member of Parliament for Tamale North constituency, Franklin Kujo, President of Imani Africa, is also online via Imani. This morning, 17-page analysis of Ejapa. Hey, Franklin, I'll get to that in a bit. And also Lawyer Yao Pong, private legal practitioner, to give us some legal perspective on all this. If you want to send messages, 0549-986-996, 0549-986-996, 0550-585832. Those are our WhatsApp lines. We're also on Twitter at City973, hashtag the big issue, or Gofeda Kutobuafo. Also on Twitter. Streaming live on Facebook, City 97.3 Facebook page, and City TV Facebook page as well. So go there and share. Okay, so let's continue the conversation. We've heard from Honorable Duka and Ben. And today's conversation, because it's one topic, I'm allowing interjections across just so that we can keep the conversation moving. So let's not get overly argumentative about time, even though I'm still looking at my watch, but we need the education and the input. So it's not really much of a debate today. We're just trying to break things down. Sweeney, let me come to you before I go to Franklin. And Franklin, please prepare the Imani 17-page response that you have on this matter. I'll ask you a few questions. Summarize it in your head. I'll get to you.
Right.
Listening to Honorable Miraku says everything has been out in the open since 2018, from the day this was birthed in law, in Parliament. Everything about this has been out there. Well, your party has simply decided to close its eyes to what has been public knowledge and crying wolf.
I should start by saying good morning to you, my colleagues on the panel, and then good morning to our cherished listeners and viewers. Godfred, I was listening to Honorable Miraku when he made the point that you have just repeated to me, but I'm happy that this discussion is not just an NPP-NDC discussion, and I will encourage many people to put their political caps aside when they follow these discussions. And there have been attempts by especially people in the NPP and in government to make it an NPP-NDC discussion. It is not an NPP-NDC discussion. It is a Ghana discussion, and that is why the civil society organizations that are not aligned to the NDC are also speaking, and they seem to have a convergence of concerns with the NDC, but it does not make it an NPP-NDC discussion. And so to confuse the discussion, there is, in my view, a deliberate attempt by the NPP to push this discussion as if it were an NDC-MPP discussion. It's not.
You're going there.
It's not. And that is why it is important. And I also make a request to you, maybe to make an appeal to Honorable Miraku to take note of some of the things he may want to respond to in my presentation.
Well, so he does that very well.
Does not, yeah, so he does not interrupt my chain of thoughts as I do this presentation.
Also grants me the right to invite him when I feel necessary.
No problem. No problem. You see, it was Thomas Sowell who said that politics is the art of making your selfish desires seem like the national interest. It was Thomas Sowell. That politics is the art of making your selfish desires seem like the national interest. And so in this discussion, if you are not very careful, people are going to make their selfish interests seem like the national interest. And that is why I have made the appeal that in following the discussion to be educated as a citizen, you must put away your, party cap and look at Ghana. And we have listened to many of them. And I agree with Ben that the more you listen to some of the reasons that are given for this decision by government, the more you see how exposed our royalties are to either fraud or corruption or nepotistic gains. The more you see it being exposed to, some of these things. Look, the Ejapa, for example, is, if you like, the second sovereign wealth fund that we are creating as a country. Under the previous regime, the Ghana Infrastructure Investment Fund was created. Now, what we are told this SPV Ejapa is supposed to do is basically the same idea that was behind the Ghana Investment Infrastructure Fund, to leverage our revenue streams to promote development. And we have a testimony by PIAC, for example, in regards to how the Ghana Infrastructure Investment Fund was used in the construction of Terminal 3, which has been applauded by PIAC. Now, it will interest you to know that since 2017, however, this government has not paid the proceeds from tax and oil revenue that was meant to go to the Ghana Investment Infrastructure Fund. They haven't. So the question of why the duplication arises. If you have a vehicle already that was set up to do or achieve what you say this new vehicle is supposed to do, why are you not using an existing state vehicle? That's the Ghana Infrastructure Investment Fund. Why are you not using it? That's the first question that I think every citizen should ask, because governance is supposed to be continual. And we have not dissolved the Ghana Infrastructure Investment Fund, which was also, by the way, a sovereign wealth fund, just like this SPV. So the duplication should raise a concern for anybody. Why the duplication? Now, why then set up this duplicated sovereign wealth fund in a tax haven? It's another issue of concern for any Ghanaian, because we all know that individuals and businesses use tax havens to hide income and wealth, and also to avoid scrutiny and paying of taxes.
Those are the negatives. There are positives.
We know that. I'm saying that we know that. And that is the reason why, when a country is seen to be engaged in tax havens, you can get on the list of the EU countries that do not promote anti-money laundering laws. That's how come Ghana is on that list. So we know that because of this negative tack on tax havens, it is important that as a country, especially on that unenviable list of countries that have been compiled by the EU, we do things that will promote our transparency and the need for us to support anti-money laundering laws and regulations. So the question, apart from the duplication, is why set up this duplicated sovereign wealth fund in a tax haven when you already as a country do not have a good image when it comes to your anti-money laundering stand. That is also something as a citizen we must be concerned about. Remember also, Godfred, that during the finance minister's vetting, personally, I asked him questions about his dealings in tax havens.
Oh, you did?
I did. And how those relationships will not impact on our revenue management as a country. In his answer, he assured that those dealings were in the past. Go listen to that vetting. He assured that those previous dealings with tax havens as a private businessman were in the past. Here we are, relevant as the question was then, it is to this discussion. Was he economical with the truth when he said that those dealings were in the past? Remember, we have not fully...
As a private individual, like you said.
Yes. But you see, as a private individual, that is why when you go for job interviews, your previous record is assessed. So as a private individual, there was a need for me to assess his private past dealings. And he gave the assurance that those private past dealings will not impact on how we manage our revenue. Here we are. He's taking us to a tax haven with all the negatives attached to dealing in such tax, havens. So it's important. And we shouldn't take the fact that Ghana is on the list of EU countries as far as anti-money laundering issues are concerned lightly.
But he's contesting that.
How?
Last year, in fact, the day that report came out, he said that he was a bit disappointed because several engagements had gone on that some were not even complete. So that particular designation was something that they are contesting.
It still doesn't take us out of the list. In fact, the list was done, I think, in May 2020.
Yes.
But the implementation was deferred to October. And so by October, some countries had rectified whatever issues they had with the EU, and they were removed from the list. But Ghana didn't. And so Ghana still remained on the list by October 2019. Ghana still remained on the list. So the fact that our government or our Minister of Finance is contesting it does not mean that we will not, be faced with whatever rough any country on that list will be faced with. So these are some of the concerns that I think, as a citizen, we should seek redress to from our government, and they must be convincing us why the need for duplication, why you have to do this in a tax haven, especially given the current status we have as a country not looking too good when it comes to anti-money laundering laws. Now, what is also critical
Comprehensive news. The City Newsroom at 8 p.m. on City TV is your most engaging news bulletin on TV.
It's a very that's too bad. The youth are still throwing stones. They are still throwing stones here into our direction. And can I come in? I want to come in. Okay.
Telling your stories better with correspondents covering every corner of the country.
Getting access to potable water is a daily struggle for residents of Kakichekopi and Balekopi communities in the Ada East district of the Greater Accra region.
City Newsroom at 8 p.m. Very fluent with issues that concern you.
This is quite a Mr. Rabbi. Someone is in bread. Told you kind of 1 week. What do you say?
Is it unfair? What all this? What all this? We are dying! We are dying! We are dying for Choco!
With City Newsroom, your community is now connected.
In this our community, all of us we are very sorry about this school. If we went to see the children, they are so small. Even my grandchildren are there. My grandsons are there. If they come out from the school, I have to be easy.
Every day at 8 p.m., City Newsroom is live on City TV.
To change your Sunday night for the better.
The reality is after school in Ghana,
you're on your own.
You're on your own. Where are you going? The job that you are getting, you can't afford your transportation. You have to pick your trotro.
Rent.
No matter how rich you are.
You have to go to the salon.
Yes.
You have to go to the salon. Like, no matter how rich you are, unless your parents are buying your car, everything, right after school, life hits you hard.
Really hard.
We'll bring you the most captivating guests and explore the most amazing stories.
It was petrifying, terrifying than what you people saw on camera, because I think the video was about, I can't remember, 8 or 6 minutes. The whole incident was about 2 hours. So Abronkwa was chased out of my neighborhood by my neighbors with cutlass.
They came to your house?
So he marched me outside.
Naked?
Naked.
We will dazzle you with real-life situations and examine mind-blowing topics.
Take us down. Do that. So yeah. Oh, nice one. Oh, man, this looks good on me, you know that? I can really do it. I love it to do now.
Ezra chapter 2, verse 12. The children of Akzad, 1,222.
Join me, Firma Binyami,
And me, Ato Kwamna, every Sunday at 7 p.m. on City TV. Are you ready?
Upside Down, every Sunday, 7 p.m. only on City TV.
Representing a country is no small feat.
Because in Ghana, the love for Israel is so real, People are nursing it from home, from churches, and then you are walking in such a positive atmosphere and all the doors are open for you.
View the lives of the diplomats in Ghana through their very own eyes and see how they make Ghana their home.
I always loved it. I love the remains of African culture in Brazil. I am very interested in the way Africans were able to, amidst those horrible conditions, they were capable of transforming their African heritage.
Join me, Apioko Sarah Mashong Abe, on Diplomatic License every Saturday at 5 p.m. only on City TV.
Election 2020, Ghana makes a choice. Tracking and bringing you reports of the presidential and parliamentary campaigns across the length and breadth of this nation.
Analyzing campaign activities and election data with our panelists on the Voters Diary.
The Voters Diary is the most factual, instructive, and balanced election 2020 analysis program on television.
The Voters Diary every weekday on City TV from 3 p.m. to 4 p.m.
Stay informed on all the relevant issues on election 2020.
Tune into the Voters Diary. It's Ghana's choice.
Tune in to The Point of View this and every Monday and Wednesday at 9 p.m. as I, Bernard Avile, get the right guests, ask them relevant questions on issues that matter to you.
Significantly, and we will do 250 million Ghana cedis. We built up the stabilization fund, and the bulk of the 250 million US dollars, same figures, 250 million cedis, 250 million dollars, I can say was significantly what we put in with one oil field. So there was a lack of preparation. The sinking fund, we use the sinking fund because you prepare for the things that are
citizens should have. And whether or not we are getting
the transaction is an NPP transaction.
So, Honorable, again, apologies once again to our listeners. We had a small technical hitch that we've been able to fix. So, Honorable Duka, please go on.
I'm assuring him that, and he knows that it's a national policy. It's a national transaction, not an NPP transaction.
Did I say
so? Yes.
No, you let him start. Yes, He's answering a few questions.
He also indicated that the EJAPA wasn't part of the MIF. The transaction specifically mentioned.
I didn't say that.
The SPV. And respectfully, I read this from the Article 3 of the Act. And it says, powers of the fund. The fund may create and hold equity interests in a special purpose vehicle in any jurisdiction in furtherance of its objects. And the special purpose vehicle shall be free to operate as a regular commercial company. It is enshrined in the Act that he participated and contributed on the floor of the House. It is also given that mandate.
You know, Godfred, I think that because you want education and you said you allow these things.
So I noted everything, so we can also note them.
Just note it down. Okay.
And remove your politicalness.
Oh. That's the appeal I've made to you. Let us take off the politics. Yes.
And it continues on Article 4, and it states, manage, deal, and invest minerals income accruing to the Republic received by the fund. So everything is stated. Everything. And he mentioned that selfish desires seem like the national interest. Probably that was the idea, the quote that he had when they were in government. But that's not what we are using now. Now, let's take this simple analogy. Even before independence, UK, and for that matter, the Queen of England, had this company, Julia, that metamorphosed to Unilever, trading globally as a private entity that were accruing profit to the people of England. So they even had that concept years ago and had that purposeful vehicle that they were trading with.
Was it built on their coal, built on any natural resources in their country?
Yes, check. I've given you something that you can research around. Just research around and see how...
The premises are not the same. The British basically were taking resources from other countries. So which royalties are we talking about then?
The purpose of those royalties were to be sent to UK, however. Yet they were able to invest and create that. But that is not even the bone of contention. He mentioned the Ghana Infrastructure Investment Fund.
Yes. He says you are duplicating it.
They are different things. That's why I appreciate that, yes, it's a novelty. Let's take our time and understand it rather than casting insinuations. They are different things. And you can read that act, the act that established that fund, and MIF Act. Very different. So, and that is not where the concept is coming from. So if he's using that one as a yardstick, then he's making a mistake. That's why we need to take our time to understand it. Then MIF, or the EJAPA precisely, being domiciled in Jersey. Jersey has some sort of, and we call it tax haven. It's not an illegal opportunity. It's a way of opening up Jersey to investors, to open the economy of Jersey, and they've been doing that, and that is their way of opening their door. As other countries may rely on tourism, other opportunities, as we are relying on gold, mining, oil, and so on. That's what they have. Let's open up, lessen our tax obligations, open our doors for people to invest here so they can also domicile here and build our economy. That's an opportunity that they are using to expand their base. And ask yourself, are we flouting any law in establishing this Toriseta company in Jersey? Is there any law that we are breaching? Is it against, is it part of the anti-laundering, measure to in a way degrade any country? And you mentioned EU getting us listed, as part of the laundering. And you rightly answered that the minister has explained it. Did we get on the list because of Ejapa? Is that what we discussing? No.
No, but his point is Ejapa can heighten.
Heighten which aspect of it? Heighten which aspect of it? That is why I asked. Are we breaching any law in terms of,
But on the matter of the tax havens, sir, and I think the CSOs, and Ben, feel free to come in here. Yeah. It's also a big point for the CSOs, honorable, in the sense that, again, we are dealing with novelties here. Do we have any state entity that incorporates itself in a tax haven? Again, we all know, and that's what I was saying, it has negatives, it also has positives. That is why they exist. But we know they exist mostly for private entities. Again, Ejapa is born out of a state resource. So if you list the conundrum for people is a bit problematic, considering again that we've heard the finance minister say, for instance, that they set up and Ben again, correct me, you heard him as well, that setting up in a place like Jersey will attract more investors because of its status. Frankly speaking, the literature on tax havens will also tell you that it is unscrupulous individuals who invest and like to hide their money.
Not correct.
No, the literature is quite clear.
No, that is not correct. Yes, people invest there and use for other means.
How will you check?
Some people obviously may have their own, interests and reasons why they do save there.
So that
doesn't in any way prevent or stop anybody from registering in Jersey.
I know, but I'm saying that. Hold on. So, for instance, Mr. Boachi here targets Ejapa. Everybody, he's a billionaire in some island somewhere. Targets Ejapa and gets himself 20% of what you are doing. He's an unscrupulous businessman. But you've told him that because you are doing your things in Jersey, he has taken advantage of it.
No,
now you have this individual, by virtue of several machinations that are set up. We all know how international business works. You might not even know he is the one who ends up owning 20% of this state-owned special purpose vehicle of yours. That perhaps also heightens the risks Suhini is talking about, because anti-money laundering people will say, it is Ben Boachi who is involved in this particular company. There might be something wrong. Why are we opening ourselves to this risk?
Godfrey, what we are also not appreciating is the fact that these individuals will be well, scrutinized.
At IPO?
Why not? Why not? Because we need to check your background. We need to check your background. We can't just say because you have the money and you are coming to
IPO. You're not the one who can check that.
The stock exchange is listed.
That's what I'm saying. But a lot of people buy shares in companies and they get it's there.
No, so
people own parts of legit businesses.
Of the business identity, the company itself. This is what we are discussing.
Yes.
And not the individuals, actually.
No, my position is the selling point for Jersey is that you are trying to attract investors. That is the key point. That is the only reason why you are incorporating in Jersey.
Don't let us miss the argument. The argument is why Jersey?
Yes.
That has been the argument.
To attract investors. Is that not why it is Jersey? Why not Ireland? It's also a tax haven.
Yeah, Jersey because we're having, that's the largest entity so far in terms of tax haven. You can check that one as well, where we can have all the opportunities.
No, we have Cayman Islands. You have
and these are tax havens, and it's not criminal.
We agree.
Yeah, so we agree. The problem?
Okay, so
what's the problem?
Yes, I think as for tax saving not being illegal, being legal and not illegal. I mean, everybody would agree to that because these are countries and legitimate jurisdictions. But there is a popular scripture that says that everything is permissible, but not everything is helpful.
You can't go scripture to the numbers.
My Sunday school teacher with a key version. That says the fundamental truth about tax havens is that countries have been hacking them down, been trying hard to open them up, and we have had opportunity to work with U.S. Congress. We have worked with SEC, copiously presented to them why they should open up their citizens who are registering in these places, so that we can know what they are doing there, how they are functioning, so that we can get taxes as poor countries. And that's why we make effort to engage those powerful institutions, and U.S. Congress makes a room for people to approach them when they are making policies and laws, so that we can shape how these tax havens operate. And the global consensus has been that countries have to keep pushing the frontiers and regulate tax havens. So countries are not morally allowed to patronize tax havens.
You see,
so to have a country say that I'm taking the lead, I'm going to register and promote and invite people into a tax haven, I think we should think about it again.
Okay. That's and you see, just a question.
That we need to list on the London Stock Exchange. And therefore, we have to list on the stock exchange, and therefore we need a jurisdiction that will be favorable. I mean, Ghana has listed on the stock exchange before. AGC was listed. It was listed in the US. So it's not the first time we are listing. We can do legitimate business if listing is even the right approach.
Where lies the illegitimacy?
Is it just
I'm saying that we can legitimate business without necessarily thinking about it.
But you rightly said that it's not illegal even to be listed first in UK and domicile it in Jersey.
The question is why.
It's not illegal.
The question is the why.
Is it illegal?
I think he's made the point, but the point has to be made here, Godfrey, that there's really nothing novel. Honorable Duka, there's nothing novel about this whole transaction. What is really novel is the vehicle and the protection the vehicle is getting. Yes. As for listing, in exchanges, I mean, the London or US, we have done it before as a country. Nothing novel.
As a government?
But yes, I mean, AGC was Ghana government listed. Yes, so I'm saying that there's nothing novel about the whole transaction. The only novelty is with the vehicle and the sort of protection and grandfathering that the vehicle is getting. And I'm asking, and when I made the point, let me just address this issue. When I made the point that the MIF did not anticipate Ajapa. I did not say Ajapa was not in MIF. Ajapa, yes,
you said emphatically
the
Ajapa was not.
Yes,
in
it
MIF.
wasn't. It wasn't. Yes, let me make that point clear. Ajapa was not in MIF. What was in MIF was anticipated that MIF can use an SPV.
I just quoted the MIF.
That's what I said. MIF can use an SPV, not Ajapa.
Okay.
And I have said that we already have an existing SPV, like the Ghana Infrastructure Investment Fund.
So your point is made. Point made. He's clear.
Anyway, but there are three more points I wanted to raise on this matter.
Your questions will be answered.
The only topic on the table is this one, so don't worry. Let me go now and deal with Franklin. Also to engage with Honorable Duka. Honorable Duka, today you are everybody's friend.
Yes. And I'm ready for everybody.
Franklin Kuzo, good morning. Lawyer Alpon, good morning.
Good morning.
Yes, Franklin, so I'm sure you've heard the conversation.
Good morning.
And you can take it off from whichever angle that's used. I know that Imani has issued a 17-page statement on why it disagrees with Ajapa and how it can be improved. I'm sure you've heard Honorable Duka. He's explained quite a few things, why the tax haven, why they need to do this, why the law setting it up is the way it is. What are your concerns at the moment? Are you satisfied with the answers he's giving you?
Well, first of all, I think this is a very interesting conversation, and it's a national conversation. We characterize it as such. It is not a party political conversation, in spite of the fact that this deal was secured by partisan majoritarian approach in Parliament. Let's make sure that it's on record. So this deal would never have been had had the minority not rebelled, right? I mean, to think that we went all the way from the north when we found oil and told everybody what the oil was going to do for us. And to the extent that my good friend Benjamin Boakye has averred, in fact, and it's veritable truth, by the way, that even if the oil and the PMRA that we enacted for ourselves, we can't even account for 1.5 billion cedis as we speak in the last 2 years. So when you then begin to monetize, or if you like, securitize these assets, this rather wonderful asset that we've had forever, and then you want to create a vehicle in order to unearth these assets for us, I think the least you can do, because the resources do not belong to you, is to have an open conversation about it and shepherd everybody along. Because you see, let's not lend ourselves to the tragedy of the commons principle, that what belongs to me, I tend to take care of it, what belongs to others tend to fall into disrepair. That's exactly what the government has done with this EJPA deal. Because the resources do not belong to the assigns of this government, and there are just a few of them, not the entire government, because I do not think Bawumia would like this deal. I want to hear him on this deal, because he's been talking about value for money. It makes me think that, yes, allow me, Mr. Duke, you couldn't account for how much you have received in terms of gold resources for your constituency. I mean, you are supervising the deal.
That's unfortunate. I didn't do that. I think I explained to him.
Franklin, please go on. Franklin, go on.
You go on.
Franklin, go on, please.
Well, you see, let me tell you something. Resources are like blood. If you've watched the movie Blood, there will be blood. You should understand how these things operate. That is why this conversation should not for once be rendered under any partisan coloring. So I may be a bit emotive, but I'm staying cool because I'm trying to submit to Mr. Duke that he is not advanced in a single convincing argument as to why we are depressing the values of our resources. 75.6% of our gold resources depress the value to almost 30%, and then giving it away to some entity they are yet to tell us who the faces behind are, right? And then you depress the values for pittance, you get $1 billion or so, and then you claim you want to receive dividends for almost, well, in perpetuity. Does Mr. Duka sitting in the studio know how much dividends we are going to receive from these valued products? And have they done a capital valuation of these assets? I'm sure Benjamin Boakye will be interested to know as well. Because, as Ben has always been saying, if you haven't done the capital valuation, which you can easily do, based upon estimates showing that there are almost 5.5 million ounces of gold we are talking about here. What is the price of gold today? In fact, some gold economists have even suggested that, to their own dismay, that the gold pricing may break the $2,200 chain. It may go to almost $2,400, which Ben has just mentioned not long ago that it is most prudent that you capitalize these assets, you do your net present value calculations, and ensure that the dividends you are getting, the royalties you are getting, are far and above what you are getting from the what's it called, as the situation persists. And if you're making $200 million a year, why would you want to go and sign something in perpetuity? I've heard all kinds of arguments about 15 years, 30 years, at the very strenuous levels, because the Attorney General had to ensure that at least put some, that's how begging the Attorney General, that at least put some time to this matter and don't render this in perpetuity, right? And I've heard all kinds of arguments, but the fact still remains. If you've done a capital valuation, you'd have realized that these assets are close to almost $4 billion, at least $3.75 billion. And even if you discounted it at 6.5 or 7%, you are most likely to secure assets to almost at least over $2 billion. How that transfers now into a so-called supernormal Captain Planet type of deal I've never heard before, which gives us or guarantees us the $1 billion, and then in perpetuity a dividend that is not calculated. You see, when you ask for the dividend, they tell you we have a formula to share the dividend. 50% to go here, 20% to go here, and that is what is confusing Ghanaians, because they assume that it's some big money that you are going to receive, for which these percentages will be assigned. The fact of the matter is that if you look at the comparable assets that we are trying to offload on a public listing, you are looking at places where dividends are less than 1% or at most 1%. In fact, Ghana's own equity investment, the dividends we receive as a result of 10% investment, 10% carried interest we have in some of the gold prospects that we have in this country, have returned almost 500,000 in some instances. In fact, in 2018, it was around 300,000 in some of the mines. So it tells you, if you look at the global figure, and Ben will buy me out, the dividends calculation is not necessarily a very good path to take, because you are most likely to get not more than 1%, which may come to almost $10 million a year after getting the 1 billion, right? So the question Ben asks is, if you do nothing with the gold, it's a bulwark, it's an insurance against, well, I mean, any rainy day. So that you don't depress the values to this extent to go and get some small measly amount and then assign all this.
Okay, so looks like we had a bit of a hitch with Franklin. We'll try and get him back. But Lawyer Pong. Hello, Lawyer Pong. Lawyer Pong. Can you hear me? Okay, so we are having a few technical issues today, but do forgive us. So let me come back in then. Honorable Duke, wrap up, and then Suhini says he has 3 quick points to make. So
yeah, so it's unfortunate that
we've lost Franklin.
Yeah, Franklin.
But he seems to agree with what Ben is saying and the fact that
obviously.
Okay, Franklin is back.
You were with us.
Franklin is back.
You just left shortly.
Because some of the data is suggesting that maybe it was better for us to do direct private listing and then assign just 25% of these assets and then get the same money, probably 500 million and a little more, in order to go ahead and then do what the things we want to do, so that we leave the 50% of these assets for the country. It's not for nothing that the Attorney General said at the point that these are unconscionable agreements. And and we do not believe that the things the Attorney General raised have all been answered anyway, apart from parliamentary ratification, which was done under the speed of light, 24 hours, by the way. The very things we accuse others of doing, we are doing them in grand fashion. So the point ought to be made yet again, that private direct listing probably would have given us enormous value, where we would have traded just 25% of our assets and then keep these 50% and then negotiate properly as we go ahead. There's nothing in this deal that makes Ghana advantageous when it comes to, apart from the value, and then when it comes to decision making as well. If you look at the legal structure, and I'm sure Yaopon will tell you more, he says he has different opinions, but clearly speaking, no, I mean, he has different opinions in terms of analyzing these things. I mean,
well, we have our own perspectives.
Yes, exactly. But if you take a look at it carefully, even the stabilization clauses are skewed towards this private entity that will be created, for which we do not even know who the faces really are. And what are the stabilization clauses? They are simple. When you come into a country as an investor, all these mining companies that are in this country, what happens is that they are prevented from changing, what's it called? Maybe the structure of the deal. If they make enormous profit, they are prevented from changing how much they have to pay the country in terms of percentages. In fact, they can't do anything. But with this Japan deal, the stabilization clauses are skewed against us. And that's the other worrying aspect of it. So for me, however you look at it, we think that, look, almost 65% of these assets we've depressed the market value of these assets, and they are ranging around 30%, and for nothing, for pittance. We don't mind. If you've paid $40 million to some British consultants to help you secure $500 million, well, fine. But don't mortgage the future of this country on the basis of some 1 percentage point dividends and then supposedly capital gains. Capital gains have typically behave in a different manner, which I'm sure is another example, is another excuse they are making that, oh, capital gains will come as well. The fact of the matter is that the real valuation of the assets is what you are looking at. And I think that this conversation about making it look like it's novel is a bit nauseating. Because, look, I mean, well, I read land economy. I did basic valuation, right? We know how to do discounted flows of this. Discounted financial mathematics will teach you all of this stuff. At the barest minimum, let's ask Mr. Duque, what is the capital valuation of this asset? It's not 1 billion. What's the total valuation we are supposed to have? From which they will be making grandiose statement that 20% will go here, 50% will go to Office of Administrator is too long. And then those figures, when bandied about, makes it look as if, oh, and yes, I did with the year. I don't know where come was. And yes, how? Open your 50% per year, and yes, the question we're asking is 50% of what? 50% of 1 billion, or 50% of 3 billion, or 50% of $2.75 billion. Those are the conversations we want to have. We are not even interested. And even though the CSO statement and Ben and myself, we agree that issues about, conflict of interest should matter. It is rather interesting to note that they claim that the former chief financial officer of Dangote Cement was the one who was asked to headhunt people. Did you see anywhere where this thing was published? In fact, we only found out that that was leaked because it was on a statement that went to Parliament. Nothing of the sort. Not that we care too much. We think Osafo Mafosan is super brilliant and all of that. But in the interest of, these arguments that have come against this government about being nepotistic, colluding, and in the process trying to strain our assets, they are the last persons to be seen to be encouraging this type of behavior. So nothing against Mr. Osafo Mafosan. I think he's a brainy chap. But the CFO of Dangote Cement cannot tell us that because he was given a permission to headhunt a Ghanaian who qualifies, he went around the whole world, published this everywhere he goes, in every nook and cranny of this world, and published it in a way that he settled on this very important Ghanaian. There's not a shred of evidence of this publication. In any case. So even then, that is not even a major argument because we are not so much concerned about that, even though maybe for governance purposes it's important. So what are we trying to say? Because rising gold prices and rising gold production in Ghana, we know that these assets have been valued higher. We need to choose carefully, choose the the stock market listing approach will not help us. Because other similar assets like Ghana, like the Japan royalties, and here we are referring to the Pan-African resources. Clearly, if you look at that index, the index shows that about the value of that index is about $600 million or so dollars, and the revenue dividends from it, because it's publicly listed, is under 1%. In fact, it's I think 0.76%. So it typifies the Royal Ejapa deal in a particular way. But we are saying that the Ejapa deal has been deliberately impaired for shorter gains because it is more valuable than that. These are our conversations, and I think it's important that we rather ensure that we did this deal to a beauty parade, which means we should invite several royalty streaming companies to bid directly. And we have dozens of transactions in recent times that have concluded that Ghana shall make more money through this beauty parade approach, rather than actually being the most beautiful bride and then going to give yourself to some worthless drunk you don't even know. And at the end of the day, you say that you have done well, we should clap for you. So for me, at the end of the day, these conversations about this is a novelty. It's not novel. In fact, is novel in the fact that we are being shortchanged, and the government has shortchanged the republic. I think it has to be put on record that by this deal, if it goes ahead as the cabinet has approved it as of March 2020, it's a deal that is shortchanging the republic, and it is unfair. You see, so I think these are conversations that are national in outlook. Look, somebody will say that why are people always talking about the national cake, the national cake, the national cake, as if it's a socialist agenda. The fact of the matter is that even though I am unashamedly capitalist, I think this is an arrangement that smells like chronic capitalism, which must be disbanded with. And I don't like it. I don't like the look of it. We don't like the smell of it. And I think that whoever is going to do this within this short time, in any case, I need to make another point.
Quickly, Franklin.
Look, yes, quickly. You are saying quickly.
Yes, because I have to pay bills.
I hear you. Look, Mr. Duque, when did this whole conversation start, by the way, this whole listing approach? When did this start? It must have started somewhere in January 2019, in fact, November 2019, right? And then from 2020 January, started engaging the Ministry of Justice, right? The question we ask is, have you published a single policy? Now, some call it prospectus, and I admit that during the initial conversation, were raising questions about prospectus and all of that. There's no proper public listing company or a company intending to list in any part of the world publicly that will not have any publishable prospectus. That will not have a policy directive that shows that this is what we do. That will not have underwriters. We don't even know who the underwriters on this deal are. Have you published it? It is as if as and when we go along the conversation, then you dish one out to us. You're even hesitating giving the moderator a letter you hold. You say it's for you. The assets of the country are not yours. So you cannot be able to pick and choose when you want to give data to people. And all these conversations about let's sit and wait, come to us before we tell you. How so? How so? Because you see, the assets of the country, you are just custodians of it. There's a reason why in Ashanti region they say that land is not for sale. Yes, you are employees, and I think you should act as such. An employee is now becoming more like the employer and dictating to the rest of the employees that this is what Let me tell you one thing. Okay. There's a reason why in Ashanti region. Okay. No, let me land.
I know.
Let me land. I'm landing.
Don't worry.
There's a reason why we say in Ashanti region the land is not for sale, and the Ashantis hold land so dear. Land belongs to the dead, the living, and the yet to be unborn. There's some fidelity. There's some respect for assets. These assets, as they claim belong to us, do not belong. It belongs to the state, of course, and they must act as such. When gold is found on my land, under my land, it doesn't belong to me per Ghana's laws. So let's not make it look as if all of a sudden some people know better than others and they know how to structure deals and call it novel. This is not novel coronavirus.
All right. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Franklin. Good job. So, as I normally do it, once somebody speaks and raises their issues, I come to Honorable Duka to address the issues because, again, he's the one running this. So, it's always important to get perspective. I'll take a quick break. He will respond to some of the issues Franklin has raised. Then we hear from Lawyer Yaopong, and then we'll do a wrap-up, and then we'll be out of here. Big Issue, be right back.
Have you heard of Wheel of Fortune?
No, what's that?
Register on betplanet.com.gh. Select Wheel of Fortune and win a prize.
What? Wait, I'm just gonna win a prize because I'm new?
Yes, but to win a prize, you only deposit 10 Ghana Cedi.
Before I win, I have to pay?
Really? So you're comparing 10 Ghana Cedi to an iPhone, an iPad, 25,000 Ghana Cedi. Eh? Okay, then explain. Yes! We are rich! We are rich!
Election 2020, Ghana makes a choice. Tracking and bringing you reports of the presidential and parliamentary campaigns across the length and breadth of this nation.
Analyzing campaign activities and election data with our panelists on the Voters Diary.
The Voters Diary is the most factual, instructive, and balanced election 2020 analysis program on television.
The Voters Diary, every weekday on City TV from 3 p.m. to 4 p.m.
Stay informed on all the relevant issues on election 2020. Tune into the Voters Diary. It's Ghana's choice.
All right, so welcome back to the big issue discussing Ejapa. So, Honorable Dukas, we do it. You have 5 minutes to answer Franklin. Then I go to Honorable, I go to Lawyer. Upon then we do the final round where everybody has proper time. So quickly respond to Franklin.
Franklin has his opinion, and I believe in setting out this opinion, he need not just insinuate, as I keep on saying. What is important is for us to observe that yes, we have this Ejapa and MIF separately. Even the 20% that I mentioned, I didn't say we're going to get it from Ejapa, as he kept on, lamenting. The 20% is the original 20% that MDF gets from the consolidated fund. So this is not part of Ejapa transaction. And that he went on to say, we mentioned 50%, he mentioned 20%. If you don't understand anything, just ask questions. But if you pretend to stand and tell me you are asleep, I should wake you up, it wouldn't be possible. That one, I don't have that mandate to wake you up because you are standing. And I wouldn't force you to understand it. Obviously, my brother, when he spoke, mentioned that we rushed it through. I mean, the process was rushed through Parliament. Franklin mentions.
Yeah, Franklin raises that same issue.
And we talking as if it's the first time document are sent to Parliament. The Airbus saga, the Majoro saga, the Chinese 3 billion, Hine bauxite and so on. You have that guts to sit here and tell me we did not present. How many, time frame did we get as MPs to go through those documents? Please, let us.
Is that his justification?
No, it's not. I'm not justifying, but I'm mentioning that we don't have that moral right to, critique some of these things as if it's something that hasn't happened before.
In Parliament, answer me.
In Parliament,
answer me. I have the same concern, so
yes,
answer me.
No, in Parliament.
Yes.
Yes, if the civil society groups are saying we need to engage.
And
it's not like this is a process we're going through.
Issue I raised.
It's a process we're going through. We've just started it. It's part of the engagement. What we are doing here is part of the engagement. So why are we talking as if a transaction that has been done year back or 2 years back without getting CSOs consulted? I appreciate the effort CSOs have made all this while. They've contributed immensely to the developmental agenda.
You are a CSO man.
Yes, I've worked with ISODEC before, and I know, the purpose, intention, vision, and what they have and what they want to, and the zeal they want to put across. But we shouldn't paint a picture as if they've been abandoned entirely. No, we've opened our doors. We're willing to engage. Whatever questions that they want, we are willing to answer them. But my worry is this kind of, yes, we have Kofi Osafo-Maafo, and because he bears Osafo-Maafo, so it's kind of illegal to have such a person serve on Ejapa. What sort of argument is this?
We'll get to that one. We haven't reached that part.
25 years experience in the industry.
But the question Franklin asked, and that's why I want us to, it's something I want to spend a bit of time on. So I don't want to just, gloss over it. That's why I said just hold on for me there. So I'll come back. I want to hear Lawyer Opon, because when it comes to the exposed persons and the arguments that was made on that, I think there are a few things to be said for that. But Lawyer Opon.
Yes, sir.
Yes, you are the man who has been advising people to do some of these deals.
Oh, yeah. I'm sure you don't want my creditors to come after me.
But on the legal side of things, what have you made of this particular arrangement, Ejapa, and all the controversy it has brought up?
Godfrey, let me state from the onset that I'm very much delighted that I'm part of this arrangement, because I think all of us on this platform have exhibited.
Which arrangement? Is which arrangement?
No, I mean on this platform that we are talking to right now.
Franklin, keep quiet. You have someone to keep quiet whilst you are talking.
I know.
I thought Japan for one.
The guy looks satisfied.
Mischief, I think now, and I must say that everybody who has spoken before me has seriously demonstrated that we are concerned about maximization of proceeds from extraction of mineral resources. But before I continue, let me refresh Franklin's memory. It appears to me I gave the book to him and he has refused to be reading it. Otherwise, what he was struggling to say about how Ashantis view land is right in page 118. And it says that I conceive that land belongs to a vast family of whom many are dead, a few are living, and a countless few are yet unborn. It is.
If I am holding it right now,
that's fine.
I'm holding the book.
Yes. Some attribute it to Seoforiata, others attribute it to the Elesi of Odogbolu in Nigeria. We will leave that controversy for another time.
Certainly.
But I think that I can infer from the totality of the conversation and the submissions from my colleagues that none of us is opposed to fashioning out of a new model which is, if you like, positively inconsistent with what we have practiced over a century since the extraction of minerals started in this country. I think that is very clear, that we are not opposed to a new model that will ensure that we get or we enhance maximization of the mineral resources and the proceeds that are accruable from it. And so I think if Honorable Suhuyini may permit me, I think at the end, he even said that the MIF Act, anticipated a form of a facility, maybe he won't call it SPV, but he said that there is one already. And so why did we not use it? That appears to me to mean that in conclusion, he may not be opposed to any form of arrangement whereby our mineral resources may be invested in a way to maximize the benefit that we derive from it. Then also Franklin, if I heard him right, also spoke in terms of some direct investment or direct private investment where we may then invest about 25% of the royalties. Now, that tells me that he has a concern with the rest of the 24%. Or the rest, that is 25, if you take 25 from 49, because we are told that the Ghana's interest in Japan will be about 51. So if Franklin is not opposed to investing 25%, which will mean that you add 25% to the 51% that we may have, we'll be left with some minimal amount as well, which is also significant. I didn't understand Mr. Boakye to be completely opposed to any form of investment of our mineral resources. Obviously not Honorable Duka as well. So some of us have been, if you like, crusading, if that is a better word, on why we have not as yet, or until recently, adopted the same or similar arrangement that we have for petroleum resources, where we have set up funds, even though I seriously have problems with how the funds have been set up and all that. But then the idea for me is good. And it was also informed by the fact that till date, we are still struggling to point to specific public goods, infrastructure, that even the areas or the enclave where minerals, especially gold, are being extracted, have benefited from. I mean, those of us who come from some of these areas, the Achim area, gold and diamond. I mean, if you go there right now, the place is so dusty. You can smell despondency and poverty in the air. I've just been told that Newmont is complimenting the effort of government to construct the road from Nkoko to New Abrim, and beyond to where Newmont is extracting the minerals and so on, which is a good thing though. But we have all agreed over time that we have very little or nothing at all to show for extraction of minerals over a century. So it means that whatever method, facility, or model that we've been applying have failed us. So there's the need to fashion out a new paradigm or a new model, a new legal regime that will enable us to derive substantial benefits from the extraction of gold in particular. Now, so that point having been made, I think we now have to also draw our attention to this whole concern really, for me, fundamentally expressed by people, concerns even the control of EJAPA or the SPV. And I think it also surrounds the issue of stabilization clauses or stabilization agreements. These are not new clauses. There are a number of them in the petroleum agreements. And in the petroleum agreement, it is not quite correct to say that they favored Ghana and that they didn't really restrict it. They did. Except that in the petroleum agreement, they introduced another concept, very fundamental, called the economic equilibrium clause or agreement. So where the stabilization clause says that no government or no executive action, no legislative action, no judicial action shall be made to adversely affect the interests of the International Petroleum Company, there is always another clause that says that, however, if this should be done, then there should be factored into the new arrangement other benefits. Sometimes some even cite a situation where the petroleum companies may say that, okay, then increase the cap or remove the cap you have put on how many expatriates we can bring to Ghana, so that if we are allowed to bring just 10, you can make it 15. That is an example of economic equilibrium. But that said, for me, any stabilization agreement that says there will be no judicial, no legislative, no executive power or authority that can change it, for me, it is just not absolute. In the sense that, yes, this agreement, for example, has been ratified or approved by Parliament. It doesn't make it a law. And if Parliament can amend or repeal laws, why cannot Parliament repeal or set aside agreements? It has, however, been said in Dibugri and Attorney General that when it comes to revocation or setting aside of agreements, it is an executive act. But for me, that does not also mean that Parliament cannot also deal with it in a sense of supporting the executive in a way to amend or to change various parts of it. So that's it. But I think fundamentally also, we are here now asking for information. We are now here saying that CSOs and other persons have been left out. And I put that blame at the door of Parliament, with all due respect. Why should we always be asking for information when acts have been passed or after acts have been passed? But when you raise it, we are told that there are experts also in Parliament from all or related to all aspects of the economy. Lawyers are bound in Parliament, there are architects, there are a lot of accountants, auditors in Parliament. So we are told that in that case, they will bring the expertise to bear. And that is why, unlike elsewhere where even Parliament may refer critical matters to even the judiciary for advice, not in the form of judicial decision, but judicial advice, so that you can even avoid future confrontation or future controversy. Because the judiciary, who are the final determinants of these disputes, may envisage or anticipate a dispute generally, although they are human, they may make mistakes, but they may generally foresee some dispute, and they will help to iron out these bills and agreements. There are also experts all over the place. We are blessed with a quite countless number of experts over all manner of matters and all areas of the economy. who can be consulted. And I think from what Franklin and Co are doing, all of us are doing, we may even do it for free. Because at the end of the day, we cannot, if you cut your tank and chew it, as that can say, you have not eaten any meat. So, no. I mean, but you are doing so now without being charged anyway, without charging. So, yeah, I know that. So, I think that Parliament moving on may have to do as some good beyond only using the experts in Parliament. And Honorable Duka, I think if you say that it is an ongoing event, there is some truth in that. But why did it not start before the act was passed? Why did it not, the agreement was passed? Of course, there are issues also about non-disclosure obligations, and that's a difficult one, but there are some matters that can be disclosed. And even if you have to go to the extent of binding people to whom the disclosures will be made to be legally liable for any disclosure, you may have to do that to get the support of these experts to help us. So on the whole, I think that, and again, before I get to the point of conclusion, I think also with all due respect, of course, I'm on record, I do not support this whole mechanism of walkout. I think that Honorable Suhuyini, for example, with all these wonderful submissions that you have made, if for nothing at all, if you had been on record, because I understand the minority walked out. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. And I do not know at what stage that you walk out, maybe at the voting stage. But whatever it is, I think it is the most important platform, most potent, effective platform for our representatives to be heard and register their support or opposition for any particular matter that comes to Parliament. And these answers stay forever as much as possible. These days, of course, internet is available. So I think that in order that we can get both arguments, it is important that this whole mechanism of walkout, which I know is a preserve of Parliament, we are told that is also practiced all over the world in the special circumstances of our case. I think it is better to stay, argue, and vote openly on these matters than to walk out. This is my personal view.
Okay.
So, in conclusion, if you ask me, I have argued in the past in some papers we have written that, look, what is the point in investing petroleum funds in financial transactions abroad when we go to the same and then we get virtually sometimes less than 1% when we are lucky 2% of interest, and then virtually get nothing. Then we go to the same market, our monies are recycled together with others and given to us in the form of bond, which I think is a glorified term for a loan, and sometimes at 9% or 10%. I don't get it. So the other argument is, why don't you also invest in public goods? Why don't we even construct a road from Nkoko to New Abrim beyond to Adeltina to Intronan, where Newmont are operating in that same area? They will first acknowledge that they have had the benefit of the mineral resources. And secondly, we can even put tolls on it, toll booths, to collect tolls, thereby getting even the capital or substantial part of it back. And that is why perhaps this arrangement may be prudent. As the Japan arrangement, you can call it any other name, but I'm talking about the arrangement. Because I understand that part of the investment, or substantial part of it, will now be invested in public goods, in infrastructure. I will rather all of it is just invested in education and health, and sometimes in a minimal way, roads. Anyway, so if you take this to be the object first of myth, which I think none of us is opposed because my minority this time, or the entire parliament passed it. The issue now is the mode of investment of the funds and the royalties. And also, before I conclude, there is something about 20% royalty to the chiefs. I think people may not have known or may have forgotten that the Supreme Court of Ghana has, since the year 2015 thereabout, declared in a case titled Okufu-Subin Khan II and others versus Attorney General and others, that it is an illegality for the government to pay part of the royalties to traditional authorities. Franklin, you can look at page 557 of the book. It's there. You see, you have not been reading. I told you that is the Chiwadea for the book. Read. You see, so I'm surprised that even in this whole arrangement, we are still talking about 20% to traditional authorities. If we want a way of helping us to extract minerals peacefully, the Supreme Court has said that the mineral revenue, especially the royalties, are vested in the president in charge of all the people of Ghana. None should be allocated to any individual or institution. This is not my word. You can look at the citation for if you want to check 2013-2015 Ghana Law Report, page 782. Is there? So let us focus on. So if we are against part of this going now, why are we also flouting the Supreme Court decision? We need to look at it as well.
Okay.
So in conclusion, my view is that since we are generally not opposed, and indeed I totally support any form of investment, especially where ultimately it will result in investment in public goods, i.e. amenities and infrastructure, it may rather have to be fine-tuned, perhaps, to accommodate some of the genuine concerns that may have been expressed, if time may permit, in my view. Because, as I said in the Dibugri case, the Supreme Court says after the passage or after ratification of a commercial agreement or international agreement, the rest is ministerial or an executive act. So if nothing is going to adversely affect the call to tarry or hold on or wait a bit to see the implementation of the amendments, I'm talking about the amendment because the act itself didn't appear to have any problem, but the amendment to include the SPV, whether Mr. Sunini's preference that we use the existing FP, is it the Ghana Infrastructure Development Fund? Or any other existing one, and that will also come with a burden to establish why you prefer it. But I also know that part of this whole arrangement is for this company to also be listed on the Ghana Stock Exchange. So it is not only, Honorable can correct me if I'm wrong, but this is coming from a source that I can trust, that Ghana Stock Exchange will also be listing this on Ghana Stock Exchange. The concerns about tax saving have been expressed, and quite with some emotions and so on, which is fine. But I think that we also have to look at beyond that. The listing itself is being done in London. Of course, some have expressed that the view that unscrupulous persons may also infiltrate. But then otherwise, we will never invest because good people will also join. We just have to ensure, and indeed these days, even before a person gets an investment to invest in such international mineral resources in particular, or natural resources, including petroleum, the scrutiny that person, his related persons, or the company's related persons, and their track record may go through before you even get a loan or an investment is very high indeed.
Okay, Lawyer Paul, time. So
concluding.
You've been concluding for 5 minutes, Lawyer Paul. I'll come back to you. I'll come back to you. Don't worry, I'll come back to you.
If you permit me, just a few.
Yes, you have 7 minutes.
I see. Now, I agree, but I did not make the point that the deal was rushed through Parliament. I didn't make the point, but I agree that it was rushed through Parliament. The point I raised had to do with the dates on, say, the AG's advice 12th August, then you have the approval 14th August, and also the change of names from Asasi to Ejapa, and the signatories and the dates on which those signatories were done, for me, raises a lot of issue. And you use an appropriate phrase, governing as they go and taking the decisions as they go. And for me, that raises some issues. Then Mr. Yao Pong agrees with me that this is the second, sovereign wealth fund that we have created. And we could have used the Ghana infrastructure investment.
Since we can look into it, now, but you still have to make the case for it.
Now, what he did not say is the question he did not answer is why we are not using it.
When he says the acts that set it up are completely different.
No. What I'm saying is that the acts only suggests that they can use the fund can use an SPV, and I'm saying we already have the Ghana SPV. Investment Infrastructure Fund that has proven to have performed well in the case of Terminal 3 and attested to by PIAC.
Okay.
So I'm saying that it is important for us to find out why we did not think
Terminal 3 deal.
Yes. And if you check the PIAC report, it will tell you. It will tell you, if you check the PIAC report, they will tell you how they have celebrated the use of the Ghana Investment Infrastructure Fund for that Terminal 3. Now, he also talked about putting the blame on the doorstep of Parliament with regard to the lack of information. I just want Mr. Yao Pong. I just want to make the point to him that even those of us in Parliament were denied information, and we did not walk out before making the points that some of the points that I made on this show on the floor of the House. We made our points on the floor of the House before we walked out. For example, we requested for the incorporation documents and prospectus that formed the basis of the ownership of Ejapa. We were denied. We also, in fact, and that is not the first time.
They asked you to be patient.
As of now, even the Franklin Templeton domestic bond deal, the prospectus for that since 2017 has been denied us, and the finance ministry tells you because of market sensitivities, they haven't given that. I am telling you, the questions have been asked. Look, we have also requested. Parliament also was denied the project cash flows and returns on investment for this whole arrangement. We made those requests. We've been denied. You never provided that. And we have asked how we arrived at even the price of the shares. The price of the shares. We have asked how we arrived at that. We were denied as a minority. And we have asked for the net present value analysis. That shows that this deal that we are getting to is better than the regular stream of income that we have been getting from the mineral royalties. We have been denied all of this as members of Parliament. So the walkout was the last resort to raise the attention, and we are happy that it has created the necessary environment for all to be interested in this discussion. That is why I started by saying that it is important in following the discussion that you take your political caps off so that you follow the issues that are being raised and understand the information that is requested and how they are denied, and perhaps why they are not being provided.
But just a second. I think what Lawyer Pong was saying is that you should stay and let the record capture.
We did.
That you stay and vote through
these issues are not.
No, we only walked out during the voting stage. He knows. We stayed. Honorable Dominic Ayini, the former Deputy Attorney General, made these points. Honorable John Dinapo made these points. We have, I think, Honorable Ato Forson made these points forcefully. But when it came to the vote, and we walked out. So we made these points, we raised the issues and the concerns that we had and the information that we did not have before we walked out. And maybe finally, Godfred,
quickly.
Look, why people have also expressed a concern about why we list on the London Stock Exchange. Why, for example, and that is where, for me, the issue of Osafo Mafo's son comes in. Mr. Osafo Mafo is on record to have told all of us in Ghana that the public sector is full. And so nobody will get, people may not get jobs and we may have to downsize. He's on record to have said that. But in the process, a special office, because that office didn't exist in the past, was created at SNET for his son. Maybe because of his experience in investment and all of that. So one would have thought that with this privilege given him, he will transform SNET, lead SNET, so that Ghana gets better. Now we know that in this particular transaction, we could also ensure that we use SNET and other, private pension funds to raise this money that is needed by government, so that in the future, SNET is better positioned to get dividends, if there are any, that will guarantee my pension and your pension. That will ensure that even if we bend, if it was the case that the rules were amended to accommodate the son of a senior minister, it was for our own good, because he has used his expertise to lead SNET to make these investments on our behalf that guarantees our pension. But what do we see? Even with all those privileges, we create this SPV in a tax haven, puts him again in charge, and suggests that even successive...
He's not in charge.
Well, he's part of those in charge.
He was a consultant.
Well,
his role has ended, has it not?
Yes,
his role has ended.
His role hasn't ended. Listen very well. He's supposed to be the CEO. He's a consultant until he becomes a CEO.
So you are predicting he will become CEO.
That is what they have said. I'm not predicting. The deputy finance minister.
Let him finish this.
The deputy finance minister has told us that he was chosen by some international whatever organization. I've been looking for that organization. Confetti. I haven't found it yet. I'm still looking. Okay. And that organization, selected him to be a consultant, and eventually, when he demonstrates his ability, he will be made the CEO. And then it is suggested, worst of all, that even successive governments cannot change him. And even if he's not performing, that is perhaps what it means. I mean, how ridiculous. How can we mortgage, our collective interest in this nepotistic and corrupt manner?
Thank you very much. And Alhassan Suhuyini, Member of Parliament for Tamale North. We'll take a quick break. When we come, Ben Boakye and then Honorable Mriku Duka wrap up, as for Franklin Cudjoe. We'll be right back.
Whoa. What's going on, baby?
Have you heard of Wheel of Fortune?
No, what's that?
Register on betplanet.com.gh. Select Wheel of Fortune and win a prize.
What? Wait, I'm just gonna win a prize because I'm new?
Yes, but to win a prize, you only deposit 10 Ghana cedi.
Before I win, I have to pay?
Really? So you're comparing 10 Ghana cedi to an iPhone, an iPad, 25,000 Ghana cedi. Eh? Would you me a drink up?
Okay, then
spin.
Wait,
we are ready. We are ready.
The conversations that help you shape your spiritual journey as a Christian. Find the answers you seek. Catch the 700 Club with Pat Robertson every Sunday morning at 8:30 a.m. on City TV.
Welcome back. So, Mr. Boakye, it looks like from the posture of the Honorable Judge Mriku Duka, they are very interested in engaging going forward to try and improve this, because it does look like there are still quite a few. There are still a few things to be done before we go, but time might not be on your side, and I keep looking at that time because this IPO will be done.
Yes,
listening to the finance minister on Thursday, it will be done.
It's good, we are hearing from government at this point, and Honorable Miracle says they want to engage. But I think it shouldn't be an approach to educate, as we have heard, but to listen to the arguments that are being made. And we are happy to look at the numbers and do the analysis to see how Ghana can optimize truly, if that's what we are seeking to do, to optimize the royalties that are coming from our resources. So that engagement, I think it should be, from a very honest approach to listen, and let's look at the numbers and see what options are available to us. So I agree with Leopold that we could find a better way to really optimize our resources, and investment is not bad. But we have to always analyze the risks, that comes along some vehicles that we decide to choose. And from what I have seen so far, I'm not convinced that the supposition that we are going to maximize our resources is really what we're looking into. We are seeking to risk the resources. So if you're seeking to do that, then the question must be asked, what other investment vehicles did we consider? And I hear Honorable Soyini asking, saying, what happened to a GIF, which is another vehicle? So there are many options that are available to us, and we need to, at this point, really examine the options that we have to see which one gives us the least risk and higher returns, so that we can be sure that we are safeguarding the revenue streams. And we can also emphasize the point again that the certainty of this revenue and the numbers that we are also hearing, they are not consistent. We've seen $1 billion valuation in the agreement that has already been approved by government, by Parliament. That's the worth of the royalty that has been assigned to Ajapa. And we're also hearing that it could be valued. What is the process for that one? When the agreement has valued it at $1 billion. You understand? And we want to understand what was the numbers that went into the calculation to achieve that NPV. You understand? Because it's basic financial rules that we can all manipulate to see what the results look like. And we'll be interested in seeing the numbers that went into the calculation of that NPV, because it's hugely undervalued. If I use my own estimation of what the receivables are, what the potential is for tomorrow, you have 4 huge mines coming up. You have one that could give you about 12 that can give you about 300 million this year. You can't value that resource at 1 billion. And I think we have to look at the numbers that government used to come to that valuation and examine to ensure that we are not just handing 49% to the stocks, for them, because this will be oversubscribed. Yeah. It's so stable stream of revenue. It's so cheap for any investor, and it will be oversubscribed in minutes. And I'm wondering whether it will even hit Ghana Stock Exchange. If it opens up in London, it could be gone in minutes.
And it's in a tax saving.
So,
all the protection.
What is the share? How much are you giving to Ghana Stock Exchange? How much are you listing on London? These are information we need to know. Because if I have money, I'm definitely going to buy that.
So I'll invite you to buy.
I don't want to buy Ghana's royalty. I don't have money. I wouldn't even do that, because morally I wouldn't do that.
Yeah. Why?
We have to protect that revenue stream. Because you see, the dividends, the companies you cited, you mentioned, go and check the dividends they are paying to the shareholders. Asset appreciation is not what Ghana needs on the stock. If Ghana lists tomorrow, and even the assets appreciates to $10 billion, okay? And these companies are paying you $6 million a year.
Consistently.
Consistently $6 million. And you have $5 billion worth of assets sitting on the stock. You can only sell to raise the money. You can only sell part of your share to raise the money if the dividends are not, being paid in volume that you require. But you are getting, the point is you are getting $300 million and you are going to list. And by virtue of listing and handing over to Ajapa, your revenue stream that is required for the schools and the health infrastructure is now squeezed.
You might have built other concessions to generate more income. That will not be listed.
Those are the assumptions we have been there to.
So why are you not bringing up the positive assumptions?
We've been there. We've been through those. So let's break down the issues and incorporate our learnings as a country into it. Okay. This investment, we've done it. It's not a new thing. We've done it. We have even taken over mines as a country. And we have failed to deliver the same thing that we're promising to deliver today. No. So what has changed? That makes us all of a sudden think that we can now go and mine and make money. You know. So let's dispassionately analyze the issues and identify the risks that we are exposing the royalty to, so that we can make a better informed position on this matter. But as it is now, you are going to squeeze government so hard that in the next foreseeable future, you're going to have to sell your stocks to be able to raise money.
Okay, thank you very much. And you see what is going to happen is that with time we may not even control the royalties anymore.
Your time is up. Go on.
With time, because other governments, if it's allowed to stand, will continue to sell.
You also have 7 minutes.
Okada perspectives.
Oh, please, let's not do that.
No,
let's not do that.
Sorry,
let's not do that here.
So pedestrian.
No, sorry about that.
You see, let's not resort to that kind of language.
I was going to the
7 minutes
thing, but just
let's go on.
In fact, I was very prepared for the manifesto, but unfortunately,
we needed to educate Ghana.
We must appreciate some of the concerns that CSOs are raising.
Yes.
Engage us. We are ready to engage you. We are ready, and I must also appreciate some of the negatives that he is pointing. But I want him also to appreciate some of the positives, because we've already mentioned that these investors, or the investment that we get in, we are also going to reinvest, build more concessions that will generate more. We've forgotten that Ghana is now the destination of gold on the global market. Ghana is number 1 in the world, as I speak with you. And the opportunity to expand is huge, obviously. So we are going to invest, get more platforms, generate more, and that the revenue stream or the royalties will still come to MEF. And we can use that one to expand. So you may have your perspectives, but there are other perspectives. And obviously, I got sad when my brother said MPs were not involved. MPs, each and every member of parliament who comes to parliament has all the documents that I have. Interestingly,
is he referring to me?
No.
Yes. Interestingly, I'm coming, please. Interestingly,
I didn't say MPs were not involved.
He mentioned that the project cash flows they asked for the template, and that was not provided. And that is unfortunate, because I was on the finance committee, and the committee members asked of this.
Were they given?
And the deputy minister, Honorable Dubois, hurriedly forwarded to the chairman. And it's on record.
This is something that should be
part of the
parliamentary record.
Can you imagine?
Available by the
ridiculous.
It's okay.
And even because of that, the committee proceedings were suspended, and we had to go back, review, study, and come back. Unlike other deals that we've encountered, without like a major Chinese 3 billion, like in a Hini project that we did not have any.
With 7 minutes, you want to go there?
You see,
I don't know.
The walkout stage that you also mentioned, because it's very important that Yao mentioned, that they should have stayed. I think you have the video. Whether they debated or not, you have the video. They didn't even sit to hear our side of the story.
That's not true.
Because we had wanted to banter on this, debate extensively, come up with solution, and I agree with Yao that you could have voted to establish your position.
No, you know how debates are done in Parliament, right?
Yes.
One minority, one majority. One minority, one majority. So how is it possible that we didn't listen to their side?
Please, you let him speak.
And
let him make his point.
This Asafo thing that we always bantering on, I think it's a deliberate attempt just to, as it were.
No, I think it's a genuine question to ask.
No, but you take Asafo Mafo, who has been in the stock market. He's been in this mining,
Is he the only one in Ghana?
But this,
is it the best there is?
We did a human search. I mean,
of which there is no record.
The hand was done.
Honorable, there's no record. Do you have a record? As governing board chair,
even the company,
you should have
I'm looking for it.
Hold on, please. You should have documentation. Do you have that?
I'll give you the details if you want.
Of course I want.
You see, this is a process.
Do you have it?
I'm saying that how can I tell you that I can give it to you without having it? What I'm saying is this is an ongoing process. That is why I've already admitted that yes, we need to engage, we need to ask questions, we need to make documents available. But what is also the procedure in getting a company listed? Do we share all the prospectus? Is that how it is done? Let us find out how companies get listed on the London Stock Exchange and other exchanges. Because there are modus operandi just to also safeguard the investors' interest.
You see, that is where we've gone back to the first part of our conversation where I raised the issue I felt we have still not answered. And we don't have too much time for this, but why are we treating a state investment as a private entity investment? The stakes are never the same.
Private commercial.
But
the stakes are not the same.
The Act has established that we must treat it as an independent entity.
Certainly, but the administration of it must also, don't you think the administration of it must also consider, well, we are a state entity that is being allowed to run as a private, in a private framework, but the money that we are playing with here is not our money. When you lose that money, it is not the same as one of those mining companies that loses money. When you lose that money, the stakes are way higher. Even though you are behaving like a private company, the losses will not be the same.
So when we get more money, what will be the...
That is an assumption that is being made at the moment.
Yours is an assumption as well. Is it not an assumption? So let's concentrate on the positive trend that we've chosen.
Okay.
Let's engage. If you need more questions, you
Franklin,
ask.
your time is coming.
My time is coming.
You obviously asked of the name change. I believe Ghanaians are also much concerned.
Interested, yes, finally, on the name change.
We had so many names that were already listed or registered. I mean, bearing Asase. About 21
belonging to
what do you mean by belonging to? and if I can walk with you, we had Asase Focus Limited, Asase Metals, Asase GPS.
I've seen that one.
These things were in a way hindering some sort of...
So it was too clear. The connection was too obvious.
And you think these 21 companies belong to one person?
I'm just saying the connection was too obvious. So
you are not politician. You are used to this.
When I said Okada, you said that she
it's okay.
Sweeney, why are you insulting the Okada riders?
Sweeney,
no, you want to insult the Okada riders in your constituency? A lot of them are in your constituency.
We are changing them to train drivers.
Let me go to Franklin. Thank you.
Franklin. And they are worried about the police every day. You are insulting them.
Sweeney, you have 10 minutes. I have 10 minutes and I want to give Franklin some time.
Finally.
Please, you have 1 minute.
You have heard your MP.
Sweeney, please. We have 2 other panelists on this.
No, the Takwa Okada riders. I want them to hear how their MP is ridiculing them.
He's not ridiculing them.
Oh, he's ridiculing them.
We need to have a unique
He's not ridiculing them, just be fair.
Oh, yeah, how does that concern you?
My question is trying to know that he's just being mischievous. And they will not listen to him. We are going to reshape them, bring them, train them, give them proper level of training to use them as train drivers.
Sweeney has moved you. Your time is up.
We build more train lines.
Let me
and you promise that you regularize them. You didn't regularize them. You are going to make them.
Gentlemen, please.
So, we are ready to contact each and every individual who is ready to
listen.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Franklin, quickly.
I think, were this to be a very town hall meeting where we're discussing this matter, I'm sure we would have to all help Mr. Duka
to go
walk out of the town hall meeting.
He would have been stoned. He would have been stoned.
The challenge is that Mr. Duka keeps saying to us that this is an ongoing conversation and that there's some aspect of some derived benefits in terms of local content, participation, and addition. You see, question is, has he even evaluated that local content? He keeps saying that, oh, when we get some of the $6 million or $10 million a year, because that's what you likely to get, then we invest in other assets, which we first also established that Asase has the first point of refusal to buy. The point is, why don't you do a evaluation of all these very minute benefits that you keep adding as you go along, and then tell us exactly what the benefits look like? Because as we can be working and chewing gum, but I think this is a deal that is not a private enterprise. You see, this is a national asset conversation we are having. You cannot dish out benefits as and when the conversation is going and tell us, for instance, that, oh, well, you know, people will be trained, there will be some benefits and all of that. We haven't seen that. That's why I keep saying that neither Mr. Ben Boakye, who does a lot of these asset valuations, by the way, and don't forget, Ben has had a very rich experience analyzing assets across the continent. This is the first time. I mean, in countries where this type of thing happens, you realize that the country's governance system is actually not at par with Ghana. I don't think we are doing ourselves any good by suggesting that, well, it's still a conversation, let's have it. You didn't start on a good faith, and I think that is the worrying aspect of this whole enterprise. I think it is important that some of the clauses that ensure that we are disproportionately, advantaged must be looked at carefully. And if Mr. Duka wants, and I think he's giving us an open invitation, we probably should now listen to him and have this open conversation, and he should do as in good faith, put all the data on the table. You see, if you can't measure something, there's no way you can actually assess its value. And I think they've not measured anything except to say that, well, gold prices are going to go high, we are going to benefit. Well, I would prefer that you rather give it to everybody else then to do their own permutations and analysis. I don't think you've served the public any good by suggesting that all this information is with you and people should come asking for it. I don't think it's fair to
Franklin, you're always welcome to access any information, and we will be
ready to give you all
the information.
Yes, but well, I mean, let me just make a clarification.
Please do.
Unfortunately, I may have to do that. In reference to a new office being created by Mr. Osafo Mafosan, that is not true. The information available is that he is a DDG, that's Deputy Director General for Investment, and the previous person, in my information, was one Mr. Noelado, and Rasbatin has held similar positions. So it was no such position was ever created for him. I understand it was created before, well, I don't want to play politics, but before this government came to power. If you know what I mean.
You're playing politics, yeah.
Listen, I'm saying
you're playing politics, so don't pretend about it. We are not like pretense.
Leave you
You know me, we are a realist.
You've been pretending all this while.
No, me, I'm a realist. You are playing politics.
The time is for Lawyer Paul. Lawyer Paul, go ahead.
I like people who,
Don't worry. He's clarifying something. Let him go on.
So he can make that point, but I will explain. But we shouldn't pretend that he's doing so without a political consideration.
Noted. Suhuyini noted. Yeah, let's go.
Suhuyini, please. I have not. Give us respect. I have not.
Suhuyini.
No, I'm giving you the same respect. I'm saying that.
Your point is he clarified.
But you shouldn't pretend that he's not doing it.
But it is not for you to tell him that. Let him go on.
Why can't I tell him that? When I observe, he's expressing his opinion. I'm expressing my opinion.
It's okay. Lawyer Paul, in his time. Don't worry. Thank you, Suhuyini.
Existed before this government came to power. It could have been Kufuor's time or Rawlings' time or any other point.
It's fine. Lawyer Paul, your point is very clear. Don't worry. Please go on.
Secondly, I'm saying that the situation we have with Jaffa is to ask the question whether 100% is better than 51%. Those who are experts in management of funds or in a corporate world sometimes can tell you that it is better for you to have half of the shares you have now, so you partner with others than to be holding on to 100%. I'm giving assumptions. I'm just giving assumptions.
This is not comparable to that actually.
Let me give assumptions. I'm giving you assumptions. It can be rebutted
quickly.
But so allow me to give the assumptions.
Go on.
And these are based on some proven record out there as well. So you may have your problem with this currency, and I've already said that perhaps the government may have to tarry and look again at it, because where we are now is an executive or ministerial realm. It has left parliament. It is go to the implementation. So the government may have to rather also look at all these concerns. And I think that if you want to involve me, frankly, we can all put down our thoughts. Why? The government will be pleased, because the government is only a trustee of these mineral resources, and we are the beneficiaries. And so I think instead of also, like what your institution has done, perhaps we may also have to get the views of others, positive and negative, whatever that means, incorporate it and send it to the government. Why? Why won't a government listen and perhaps hold on with an impeding? I mean, VAT and Co had been set aside in the past. Other decisions have been taken. So I think that from here, frankly, you may have to furnish the government, perhaps incorporate the little nuances that we may have added, and send it to the government, and let the whole world, or at least as is permitted, know that these are the concerns of people like you. But I think at the same time also, let it also be balanced, so that it should not be as if, and as you have demonstrated, you are not per se against even investment, the private investment per se. So why don't we incorporate all this, make it a balance, so that whoever is going to assess it also know that we have done these things from the bottom of our heart in good faith. And that is just the point I want to make.
You'll be optimistic to think it will be changed, eh? I doubt.
All right. Thank you very much, gentlemen. Thank you.
Which makes me think that this conversation we had was just entertaining our maps.
Franklin,
you've been very unfortunate
that
in this
particular
discussion.
remark is it's very, 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 very
Oh
bad.
no, I'm saying that because I do not believe the government will change its mind. It
You
makes
rather
me
need to
think
be
that
stoned,
we
you.
were just
It's okay.
You rather need to be stoned.
You know, Godfrey, you see,
Godfrey.
you see, in the past, when I worked in the media, there were times you will have news editor. But with time, the stations have transformed, and then you now have head of news, and then head of current affairs. That's now two portfolios.
Yes.
So to say that because you have separated news editor to head of news and current affairs, it is.
This is reference to the snitch situation.
Exactly.
So that's what happened.
That's what happened.
Thank
and
you.
so let Mr. Yao Pong make what he knows.
He understands.
Let him say what he knows.
He understands.
But let him not,
expertise.
you know,
okay.
just as I am saying what I know, and he thinks I'm doing politics. It is only fair that I also think he's doing politics, and he doesn't get offended.
It's okay.
Because if he thinks I'm doing politics, and I'm not to be offended. It is fair that I also think he's doing politics.
So you shouldn't be offended. Let me read messages. You've clarified the point.
Godfrey,
Let me read messages.
I understand, Godfrey. But
No messages.
but
You know messages are
what
important.
hasn't been addressed in some of my submissions is the fact that
When we even spend the whole day, your issues will not be
this
addressed.
SPV will not be governed by the PFMA Act. This SPV will not be supervised by SIGA. Why?
You've made those points.
Why?
Let me read messages also asking some of these questions. Frankly, somebody is very happy with you this morning. Ed Dake says, brilliant submission from Franklin Kujo of Imani.
Throwing stones.
Nadika should pay me royalty.
Citizen Gascon says, according to the government's principal legal advice, and the Japan mineral deal is against the interests of the state. So, on what legal ground and authorities is the government proceeding with the deal? Well, Citizen, I'm sure you have been educated this morning. I'm going to collect that document, Honorable Duka, one way or the other. August opinion from the Attorney General that you have. You must give it to us.
2 days before the deal was passed.
So I don't know how whether I'm going to be heckled here.
Okay, so
it looks fresh. Ben, I don't know you to
Tarzan says in a message and says, we have done this sort of thing before. Quote, when and from me. How also has come to. So it's been an insight. Very, very, very much to Honorable George Mekudiuka, Member of Parliament for Takan Suayem, and also the governing board chair of the Minerals Infrastructure Investment Fund. Investment Fund. MIF. He's a very, very big man. 978. Act 978. He has unfortunately, they are playing going balls around him and he doesn't seem to know. Member of Parliament for Chairman North Constituency, Benjamin Boache, Executive Director of ASEP, Franklin Kujo, President of Imani Africa. Calm down.
Other drivers will become train drivers.
Thank you very much. It's been a pleasure. Have a good weekend. I hope you enjoyed this episode of The Big Issue.
He doubted the NHS.